big on financial literacy and financial education. There's no school in Nigeria I'm sure we've not visited, as part of our financial literacy drive. We've talked about the products that we create, the innovative product that we create, just so that we are speaking to the needs of investors and to the customers. We also have an investment program for women, and because one of the things that we've seen is that a lot of time women tend to shy away from investment, and so we don't want them to be left behind when it comes to making the right investment decisions. So we are at the forefront of encouraging them with financial literacy and also the tools that they need to make the right decisions. We are also very active players in the capital market, and the goal for us is to ensure that, a lot of the time people are afraid of the capital market because of the risk and volatile nature of the market. So as we play actively in it, the goal for us is to ensure that we make people more comfortable with the investment decisions that come from the activities in the market. So to the students here today, I want to say this, that you are the future of the Nigerian financial system. When we look at you, we see the next policymaker, we see the next CBN governor, we see the next asset manager building not just 1 trillion, over and significantly more than 1 trillion naira in assets under management. We see CBN governor here. We see people who are going to set up fintechs beyond what currently exists, to ensure that the right products, get to the end users. We also see people in the regulatory agency to ensure that ethics is at the foundation of everything that we do. So I challenge you today, number one, to lead with integrity and don't compromise ethics for speed. The young people today, a lot of the time, we are eager to get to the destination. We want to hammer big, we want to achieve very fast, but don't compromise ethics, just to get to where you want to get to. Think beyond profits. It's important to design products and solutions that not just put money in your pocket, but also serve long-term national interest. Also build your technical knowledge. Never lose sight of your human responsibility. So beyond just getting your first degree here, it's important to always develop yourself. Get the professional certificate that give you credibility, working in that industry, and continue to build on what you have started. In the words of Peter Drucker, management is doing things right, but leadership is doing the right things. And what this financial industry needs, we don't just need doers, people who are told what and they will do it, but we also need people who will lead the industry. So let me close by returning to our team, the 3 foundations that we spoke about: ethics as the foundation, strategy as the vehicle or the pathway, and then impact as the destination. Nigeria needs financial institutions that do more than just make money. We need institutions that build trust, drive innovation, and also leave a legacy of prosperity. And it also needs young leaders like you to rise up to that challenge. A lot we can generate in Nigeria. It's important for us to understand that the Nigerian dream, yes, may not be clearly defined, or standardized like we have in other climes, but you can create the Nigerian dream for yourself here in Nigeria, and I believe that you will not disappoint us. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ma. Please, another round of applause, please. One thing that particularly stood out to me in her keynote speech is when she talked about the importance of not just doing things, but doing things right, and how ethics are kind of like the backbones, like principles towards different decisions that we make as individuals. And I think it's really important that this get talked about more often, because a lot of times people go into jobs, go into things primarily for the money that comes out of it, for what they stand to gain. And then they forget about their ethics, they forget about their moral compass, just different things. And I'm so happy that she pointed that out. Thank you so much, Ma. So we're already really, really behind schedule. And as much as I would love to gist with you guys more, I think I should call it the next keynote speech. Now, see, our next speaker, like Nasruddin said earlier, the slogan for Nesa PAU is excellence in and beyond. And we have carried that towards choosing the panelists that we have chosen today. So with that, please listen for this bio again, please. You don't want to miss this. You know why? Because he is a titan of economic insights and a visionary leader in Nigeria's financial landscape. With over 40 years, 4 decades of unparalleled expertise, this distinguished economist and banker serves as the managing director and CEO of Financial Derivatives Company Limited, a powerhouse in macroeconomic research and financial advisory. That's not all. He is a graduate of the University of Ibadan with a BSc in economics and an associate of the Institute of Bankers, England and Wales. His illustrious career spans pivotal roles at Barclays Bank, First National Bank of Chicago, and International Merchant Bank Nigeria. His razor-sharp analysis have shaped policies, guided major projects in oil, in gas, and aviation, and has earned him a seat on President Bola Tinubu's Economic Management Team Emergency Task Force. Man, wow, this is too impressive. Known for his bold, data-driven insights on Nigeria's economy, from currency strategies to poverty alleviation, he is a trusted voice around the globe about breaking down complex issues with clarity and impact. A boardroom titan, a sought-after advisor, and a champion of economic progress. Please, let's put our hands together and welcome the incomparable Bismarck J. Renwani.
Good morning. As we say in Nigeria, let me stand on existing protocols. I want to start here by saying that the theory, if I may say, that the leaders of the future are the youths. I think the leaders of today are the youths. The future is too far away. As I was coming here, I thought about 3 things. One was that with Donald Trump's new tariff on the iPhone, I was told that an iPhone will now be, if manufactured in the United States, will be $3,500. And I was thinking about the impact of that, because right now the iPhone 17 is about $1,200. So when Tim Cook said he was going to move production from China to India, and Donald Trump said, okay, come on, please, you must manufacture in the United States. I thought about that. I also thought about the new regulation on Harvard University not being allowed to allow foreign students to study at Harvard University. And I was thinking about all of this in 48 hours, from the iPhone tariff, the EU tariff, and Harvard University going to court on the temporary injunction against the government. And I thought about, at the same time, I thought about the fact that the Federal Reserve, there's a lady called Collins, who is the head of the Federal Reserve of Massachusetts, who said it is unlikely that there will be a cut in the Federal Reserve policy rate this year. We all came in, by November last year, we're very clear in our minds that the United States Federal Reserve will bring down rates at least 2 or 3 times this year. And now here we are in May, saying that there will not be a cut. So those three things bothered me. One, that if I wanted to replace my iPhone, it's going to cost me, in Naira terms, it's going to cost me about 5 million Naira. And everybody uses an iPhone. And then later on, Donald Trump said, this also affects Samsung and what's the other one? Samsung, right? Lenovo. So I said, oh, wow, so I can't even switch to Samsung or something else. So I'm stuck with the fact that I need to look for 5 or 6 times more the money to buy my iPhone 1. So I also thought about the fact that if I was to send my kids or my grandkids to Harvard, it's going to cost, first and foremost, they're not going to be allowed to come in based on the new rules. So we have to think of somewhere else. So those things bothered me, and I said the world is changing so fast. So anybody who tells me that the leaders of tomorrow are the youths, I don't buy that. The leaders of today are the youths. And therefore, we cannot say, because that's another way of deferring things. We say, when we go to economic policy meetings, we talk about Vision 2020, Vision 2030, Vision 2040, so that nobody can hold us responsible when we don't achieve those goals, right? So if I say, by the year 2050, Nigerians are going to be 1 in 4 people, black men in the world are going to be a Nigerian. I'm not going to be there in 2050 to answer for the mistakes or wrong choices or wrong decisions we made. So I want to start there. But basically, today, we're going to be talking about I'm using a different approach, that is a question and answer approach, because these are students, and I want to ask some questions that are bothering everybody. Maybe they're relevant, maybe they're irrelevant, maybe make a difference, but that's where it is. Now, if you can put up those slides, I would like to talk about 4. I have only a few minutes. I'm going to ask 4 questions that may be relevant to what we are talking about today. The first question I'm going to ask is, but first of all, let me congratulate the Nigerian Economic Society PAU branch for putting this together, the vice president of the association and I think the treasurer came to see me, and they were totally, they pushed and pushed and pushed, and I said, okay, fine, I must honor this. And I remembered my days as a student, and if I wasn't given that opportunity, I wouldn't be here today. So the first question I'm going to ask is the Nigerian economy undergoing real structural change or just transient shifts and people talking about things, just talk is cheap? And the answer is as follows. Nigeria has a long-term national development plan called the Nigerian Agenda 2030. But to put it in proper context, Nigeria's GDP today is about roughly $300 billion. It depends on how you want to cut it. And the president of Nigeria says, I want this economy to become $1 trillion by the year 2030. So how do you go about moving from $300 billion, roughly, to $1 trillion? In other words, the economy becoming 4 times its current size within the next 4 to 5 years. First of all, honest answer, it's not going to happen. Right? It's not going to happen because to do that, something dramatic, something abnormal has to happen. But I believe in miracles. Things can happen at times, but this is not one miracle that is going to happen. So I like to be a realist. The Nigerian economy today has 4 components. Aggregate consumption, that is what all of us spend in households, which are the most important component of the economy. Households, what you spend at home, what you used to buy, gari, pepper, onions, and everything. 2 is investments. As I was coming here, I spoke to Elijah Aliko Dangote. He just arrived from New York. He was awarded one of the 100 most influential people in the world yesterday. So he just arrived from New York, and as he arrived, he was on his way going to the refinery past this road. So, investment. Total investment in Nigeria is about $97 billion captured. The refinery itself is about $23 billion. So about 25% of the gross fixed investment in this country is in that location, not far away from here. Then government. You'll be surprised that government is only about $14 billion, right? And $14 billion, and that's what nominally the government says it has. But the reality is the government influence and dominance is about 10 times that. If you're not a friend of the government, if you're not a part of the government, if you're not indirectly connected to the government, you're unlikely to succeed. Michael Porter, this is Lagos Business School. Michael Porter, the guy who wrote about competitive strategy, talked about the 5 forces. But then he has updated that to say there's a 6th force. The 6th force is being a friend of government in developing countries. So if you have 2 companies competing, one, a private company who has done everything right, and the other one, a private company who has done averagely right, but is a friend of the governor, friend of the government, friend of the president, he is more likely to succeed than, right? But that's the reality, because we are talking about the leaders of today, not leaders of tomorrow, because we can't wait. We have to run faster in order to stand still. So that's what it is. You can see here, Singapore is a one-city country, right? The goal, Singapore's goal, is that by the time your plane lands to when you check into your hotel, going through everything, is 45 minutes. By the time you go through passport control, get to your car, get to your hotel and everything, 45 minutes. It's different here. You'll still be at the immigration line in Nigeria. So, Singapore, 1990, look at Nigeria, the green line there. 1990, we had the same GDP, right? And income per head. Today, Nigeria's income per head is about roughly $2,000 or less than that. You know what Singapore's income per head is? $88,000. 40 times more. Singapore in 1960 was shanty town just like Ajegule, right? But today, it's a leading advanced economy. So, answer to the question is that structural change and transient change. Talk is cheap, and we can always aspire and say what we like. But the reality is that it needs hard work, real hard work, and just not theories and papers. The next thing is that the goal is to make it $1 trillion, but we have faced, and everything is well documented. I'm not going to spend your time with which you know that there's no light, there's no water, there's traffic, there's crime, so what are we going to do about it? But one thing I want you to note is what we call optimal use of capital. That yellow line there, right, is the total, that is gross fixed investment growth rate. But the total factor productivity, if total factor productivity is negative, and we've had that for over 20, 30 years, for the first time from 2022, we have been in positive, which means, one, that the likelihood of you going into a recession in Nigeria is low. Two, it is that you are now beginning to sweat your assets more. Optimal use of capital. I had written a paper or made a comment before about Nigeria being the morgue of uncompleted projects. Second Niger Bridge. So all over, if you are landing in a Nigerian city by air, you will see buildings without roofs, right? Because people have started buildings and they cannot complete them. So that's one. But one thing is that capital stock optimization is important. What happens when there's structural reform? This is what you get. Gradual elimination of subsidies and concession roads and all of that. One is that announcing policies is the easy part. Implementing policies and reforming the institutions that will deliver those policies is the difficult part. We've done this many times and we never succeed. So if you want to become a breakout nation, according to Rashikumar, then that you can see that clearly, that you'll be growing at 6.2%, 7%. In 1999 or 2000, there was a time we grew at almost 19% growth now. But we did something dramatic and all. So, second, superficial and transient reform, policy flip-flops, leakages in the system. Because if you go back to where we are, this GDP here, you have what we call the investment multiplier. But when you steal from the Commonwealth, there's what we call negative multiplier and positive multiplier. Whenever you see a public servant accumulating wealth and taking the society for granted, they are stealing money, and it's a negative multiplier. If they are injecting money into the system, you have a positive multiplier. And so what we are saying is that maintain status quo, you end up at this level, $170 billion, $250 billion. And if you don't reform at all, you actually go backwards. So scenario one is our scenario that we look out for. The second question I'm going to ask is, can Nigeria achieve higher income levels without following the traditional IMF-led market reform path? You'll be told that liberal economics, Bretton Woods institution, IMF is dangerous and all of that. But that has nothing to do with the IMF. As a matter of fact, Nigeria just repaid part of the IMF COVID loan. But let us look at what has happened to countries that have taken this reform path. Basically, open markets and trade. What you see today, we talk about tariffs. The world was built on what we call open markets and what we call the GATT, the General Agreement of Trades and Tariffs, which was more to open markets and allow for free trade and comparative advantage. Now, Nigeria can and will achieve whatever it is, but it's important to also know what does an IMF program mean. There are about 6 types of IMF, there are about 6 types of IMF programs. One is standby arrangement. The other one is extended fund facility. The third is flexible credit, precautionary credit, extended credit, rapid financing instrument program, standby credit facility, and there's one which we call the policy support instrument program, where the IMF looks at your program, certifies them as valid and solid, and then other lenders will follow suit. So you'll be misled by many people to say that, okay, if you have an IMF program, have a World Bank facility and all of that, it's going to hurt you. The only difference an IMF program will have is that your internal procurement process, right, will not allow people to steal and award contracts that are larger than normal. So what are the conditionalities that are all over the place? But the reality is that Nigeria has met all the conditionalities except for public procurement. So this is like, in the Fulani tradition, when you want to marry a wife, you go there and you get flogged thoroughly, right? To show that you can withstand and take care of the woman as you marry her. So Nigeria has gone to marry a wife and has got flogged, but did not take the bride. They went home without the bride. So we've taken the punishment, done everything, but on the way out of the in-laws' house, we forgot to take the bride. Right? So where are the countries that have had successful programs? Indonesia. Indonesia is very interesting. They had a bailout package of $43 billion. Indonesia is the largest Muslim populated country in the world. It has hundreds and hundreds of islands, very difficult terrain, but its GDP has grown tremendously, and it's over where they were below Nigeria before, but now it's over about $1.5 or $1.4 trillion. Kenya Again, a smaller economy, but well diversified, from horticulture to tourism to IT, the digital world. In fact, the most successful payment system, financial payment system in the world, the M-Pesa and all of that, ahead of all other countries. Did very well. Unfortunately, they have issues of politics and diversity, the Luo, the Kikuyu, and all of that. But Kenya is doing very well and is now growing quite rapidly. Ghana, of course, Ghana was a gold standard. Remember, it used to be called Gold Coast. And then it fell apart, defaulted on its debt, had a program, and today, inflation 2 years ago in Ghana was 54%, and today, inflation is down to 21%. What's more interesting, the Ghanaian cedi is now the best performing currency in the emerging market space. And that was Ghana that was left for dead 2 years ago. In fact, many Nigerian banks lost a lot of money. Then, of course, we've talked about Ghana, Kenya, and Indonesia. But there are some bad cases, Ecuador and others who have gone through these programs and failed to do anything. The case for Nigeria, I've already said it. We had SAP in the 1980s, and we've had all sorts of programs. But the thing about this program is that, or the programs is that, like an economist, if the amount of stealing and the amount of corrupt practices in an economy, you will not succeed. It doesn't matter how much you implement the reform. You must reduce the pilfering. It's more than pilfering, the looting. So you can have a lootocracy, and that's what we have. How is Nigeria positioned in the context of the global trade war and shifting global economic dynamics? Third question. I have 4 questions. This is the second to the last one. Nigeria is almost tariff war neutral. In other words, our trade with the rest of the world, trade with the US is only $8 billion, and it doesn't really matter. So Nigeria will benefit from a trade war only for 2 reasons. 1, it will make us more resilient. 2, Nigeria would lose because the price of oil comes down, and if the price of oil drops below $60, our currency will suffer, and everybody in this room. So the leaders of today, which are the people in this room, will have their work cut out for them. You are going to leave this room and go into the market or go into government to do things. The median age of the Nigerian economy is about 17, 18 years old. The median age of the Nigerian leadership, if you take all the governors and the president and everybody, the median age is 70. And the Bible says 70. In other words, that's why I say you are the leaders of today. The entire leadership of Nigeria are on overtime. So you might as well call all of us. We are dead already, so it's over. So the leaders are in this room watching. Now, how are you going to go about it? How are you going to deal with a $3,500 iPhone, because you want to use iPhones? How are you going to deal with it when the price of petrol is at $825 a liter, 825 naira a liter? How are you going to deal with it when you're on band A or band B? I understand in this part of town, electricity power supply here is quite regular. Maybe you're on band C or band D or whatever, right? So, the global trade war will deepen things, and you can see here that we do more trade with China, 4 or 5 times more with China than deal with the United States. We buy more from Turkey. We buy more from India. We spend more on medical tourism and everything in India than we spend with the United States. So we really don't care too much about going to the United States. A ticket from here to California on economy is a minimum of $6,000, while a ticket from here to Mumbai is a third of that, about $2,000. So definitely our future lies more with links with the global south, that is between here and India, here and China. And I think we have to bear that in mind, right? If you were going to the UK to go to school, somebody was talking about going to the UK, you now pay VAT. So if you went to Winchester or Harrow, you were paying £60,000, you now have to pay another 20% of that, right? And that's the VAT alone you are going to be paying, which is an additional, is more than the amount you have to. So you might as well go to Day Waterman, go to PAU, rather than go to Manchester, I think Henrietta, and we're talking about Exeter and Manchester. So Africa. So where is Africa in the scheme of things? Africa has a population of 1.5 billion, which is 20% of the world, but we produce only $3.2 trillion of GDP. So we consume 20%, and we put in only 3%. So we are parasites. And how do we change this around? We have to make ourselves more productive, going from natural wealth to productive wealth economy. Our trade is $860 billion, which is 2.6% of the total trade in the world. So we can't be 20% of the population, produce only 3% and trade with only 2.6%. Our manufacturing output is only 1.7%. So we are fringe players, and we now have to move out and become more. But the good news is that this was how India and China was 50, 60 years ago. But today, the Chinese economy is now $18 trillion, right? And when Trump said, I'm going to slap 145% tariff, the Chinese said, bring it on. When they tried to do YouTube and all of that, they came out with TikTok. When they came with what they call this, NVIDIA, they came up with a DeepSeek. So the Chinese are always one step ahead. Huawei, 5G, and all of that. So your resilience is important. So if you take the 1.4 billion people in China and maybe the 1.5 billion people in India, you can see that of the top 5 economies in the world, number 1 is United States, $27 trillion. China, number 2, right? India is up there now, right? So between India and China, they are in the top 5. And that was not the case 20, 30 years ago. So where is Africa? The countries that are more exposed to the U.S. are as follows. 1, Egypt, for obvious reasons, because of the Gaza and the Palestinians. 2, Liberia. 3, Togo. Then Madagascar, Lesotho, South Africa, and Botswana. You saw the conversation, or the tete-a-tete, may I say, between Ramaphosa and Trump a few days ago, which is the global, right? So this is what is happening. So the impact of global developments on Nigeria are tariffs and trade barriers imposed, got it, all right? Rising global uncertainty, depreciation of the Naira will occur because of that, but the Naira is not going to fall to pieces. So what countries in Africa or Asia can serve as economic role models for Nigeria, and what lessons do they offer? Kenya, good study, we have it here. Key trends in Kenya, programs, stability, and more than anything else, transparency and governance. Ghana is a lesson of what not to do and what to do and how to do it better. And I'm not going to waste too much time on that. The facts are here for you to see. But if you look at Ghana and see for yourself, 2023, 2.9% growth. By 2026, they've doubled that to 5.4. Inflation in 2023 was as high as 38.1, went up to 54. It's now projected to drop to 9.6%. Deficit as a percentage of GDP was up to minus 4.3 in 2024, is now down to minus 3.6. And the Ghanaian cedi had gone from 11 all the way to 17, 18, and it has dropped, I think, to 14 in the last few days. Summary and conclusion, 1 minute. Nigeria may be on the mend if it overcomes reform fatigue and palliatives don't help you solve your problems. 2, investment opportunities in energy. You cannot grow your economy if you have 5,000 megawatts of power. You need a minimum of 20,000 megawatts of power, and that's going to happen only when you reform the energy sector. Agriculture, yes, agriculture is a wide range from primary products to horticulture to aquaculture, but that's feeding the nation. Infrastructure, concessioning the roads, the bridges, the airports, and taking away the rent-seeking crony capitalism. Policy inconsistencies must stop. You cannot have conflict of interest, contradictions, and you cannot, like if I may use Scarface, many of you were not born when Scarface says that you can't get high on your own supply. Interest rates would trend downwards towards the pre-COVID years, and the exchange rate will stay stable throughout this year and next year, between 1,600 and 1,700 naira. Fiscal deficit will moderate, and retail sales will rebound as we go along. So this year is going to be a tough year, but as we close out the year, things are going to start getting better, and you'll begin to see some forms of relief. But there's no silver bullet that will solve Nigeria's problem. Alhaji Dangote says that as from October 1, petrol will be sold uniformly across the whole of Nigeria. In other words, the petrol you buy in Lagos will be the same price as in Yenagoa or in Maiduguri and all of that. Right now, we have what they call the Petroleum Equalization Fund, which we spend about almost ₦1 trillion trying to bridge to ensure that the price of petrol and diesel are the same across the country. The private sector initiative is going to do it at almost what I call minimal cost. So, finally, consumers are now prioritizing affordability. People are going to pharmacies to buy, even though the doctor says buy 10 tablets, the money they have can only buy 2 tablets. So what they do, they are underdosing rather than overdosing, and many of them are dying because of unaffordability. Broad money supply is supposed to grow at 15%. It's now growing at about 23%. If that comes down, inflation will moderate. Average treasury bill rates are projected, right now it's about 23%, about the same rate as inflation. That will come down a little bit. Nigeria's oil production, right now at about 1.46, is also a victim of vandalism and piracy. Well, what's happening in the River State, Bayelsa State, Delta State, and others are things to keep your eyes on. The price of oil, $60 to $70. Anything below $70, Nigeria's economy will stagger and struggle. So today it's about $64, $63. So the Nigerian economy is struggling. That's why I say there's no silver bullet in the next 12 months, but we are going to have to work our way out of this. Nigeria's fiscal and external sector will be under pressure. The Naira will be under pressure for the next 6 months, but will not fall violently. It will stay in a range between 1,500 to 1,700 Naira. The Nigerian stock market will begin to recover after a difficult 2 years where companies were reporting massive losses. So is 2025 a year of redemption? I'm not sure. It's a year to struggle, because if I remember what Bob Marley said in the Redemption song, it tells you some things you have to think about. So, the next 2 years is make or break. It could break, it could be made, or, quite frankly, I'm not going to raise your hopes that there's a silver bullet anywhere. There's work to be done, and the work is on the shoulders of the young people here, not on the old people that have all of us who have called expired products. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iwani. Please, another round of applause again. Thank you, sir. That was very, very insightful. I took notes of the areas you mentioned are going to take off. Investment, you said agriculture, You mentioned infrastructure as well. And please, I hope you guys should also take note of that. Because don't forget, this is redefining the Nigerian dream and trying to find a way where there clearly seems like there might be no way. So please, let's try to always pay attention. And I want to implore you guys to please drop your phones. In fact, face your neighbor now. Face your neighbor now. And say, neighbor, if I see you with your phone, I'm not hearing you. Neighbor, if I see you with your phone, I will seize it. Okay, thank you. All right, so next up, please let me have the speaker citation to usher in the finance panel. So you guys, please just sit tight while we play the citation for the speakers, so you know who is coming into the next panel, and our very first panel, which is a finance panel.
Vice President at Kate Isabuta is an Assistant Vice President at Afri Invest Capital Limited with over 13 years of experience in financial advisory, capital markets, and project finance across Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. She has structured and executed transactions exceeding 500 billion naira, delivering innovative, value-driven solutions for clients across sectors. With a strong background on investment research, Kate has authored influential macroeconomic reports and provided equity coverage across key industries. A first-class graduate in economics from Covenant University, she holds a distinction-level master's degree in development finance from the University of Lagos. A SEC-sponsored professional, Kate is known for her regulatory integrity, strategic insight, and commitment to mentoring young professionals and advancing capital market development in emerging economies.
Razak Ahmed is a visionary fintech leader and the newly elected president of CFA Society Nigeria, where he continues to champion ethical finance and professional excellence across the country. As co-founder and CEO of CowryWise, he is reshaping Nigeria's investment culture by making wealth-building tools accessible to millions, especially the digitally connected but underserved population. CowryWise has made history under his guidance, becoming the first Nigerian fintech to obtain a fund or portfolio management license from the SEC, and the first admitted into the Catalyst Fund, backed by JP Morgan and United Kingdom Aid. He is a graduate from Obafemi Awolowo University.
Abimbola Babalola is a seasoned capital markets professional with over 25 years of experience in trading, market surveillance, and regulatory compliance. He currently serves as Head of Trading and Products at Nigerian Exchange Limited, where he leads initiatives to enhance market efficiency and investor engagement. Previously, he held the position of Head of Market Surveillance and Investigation at NGX Regulation Limited, focusing on investor protection and market integrity. Babalola is an alumnus of the University of Lagos and is recognized for his contributions to the Nigerian capital market.
Mr. Johnson Chukwu is the Group Managing Director, CEO, and founder of Cowry Asset Management Limited. With over 3 decades of experience in banking and capital markets, he previously served as pioneer CEO of Guardian Express Trust and held executive roles at Spring Bank, Guardian Express Bank, Diamond Bank, and Intercontinental Bank. His expertise spans corporate finance, risk management, treasury, and operations. He is a University of Lagos scholar with a BSc in accounting and an MBA from Lagos Business School. He is a fellow of ICANN and CITN. Mr. Chukwu has attended executive programs at IESE and Wharton and contributes to industry development as a trainer with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, and the Financial Institutions Training Center, FITC. He is a frequent economic commentator in the media.
Fi Ogunlesi is an accomplished investment professional and managing principal at TAG Africa, a subsidiary of We Capital. With over a decade of experience across fund accounting, compliance, and investment management, she is driven and passionate about value creation, catalytic investing, and providing financing solutions for businesses across the African continent. She previously held significant positions at a leading multi-billion-dollar pension fund in Nigeria, focusing on finance and investment management in the asset management space. Beyond her institutional roles, Fi is a VC4A mentor committed to nurturing the next generation of African entrepreneurs. She has participated in and contributed to global platforms such as She Wins by IFC, Timbuktu Accelerator by UNDP, and Invest Africa, amongst others.
All right. Could our panelists please make their way on stage? And can we welcome them as they make their way on stage with resounding applauses? Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to welcome you to the first panel session for the Frontier Conference, focused on capital, capability, and compounding within the Nigerian dream. I understand that we have 3 segments to run through within 45 minutes, so I'd like to implore the panelists to keep responses under 3 minutes. That way we have ample time for questions from the audience, okay? So our first segment will be focused on unlocking financial independence through savings and investments. Now, despite improving financial inclusion and gross savings hovering around 35%, you realize that retail participation in the capital market is still rather low, right? Recent data from the Securities and Exchange Commission indicated that less than 5% of Nigerian adults invest in stocks. So it's clear, there's a critical issue there. The financing tools are there, however, it appears that we need trust, we need education, and we need a mindset shift from consumption to wealth creation. So I'd like to start with you, Abimbola. How is the Nigerian capital market evolving to actually improve retail participation? And in what ways would you say investment has now become more accessible and then transparent?
Thank you very much. I think we can't run away from what happened in the past. You know, 2008, 2009, the market crashed. Yeah. And we see a situation where the all-share index went from 60-something thousand down to 20%. But a lot of efforts went in, especially for us at the NGX. We actually have to look at what happened, and we started reviving things. So you see us rewrite our rules, leverage on technologies. Today, you will discover that we've democratized access to the market. We've deployed a lot of APIs. where people can consume. People now have access on their mobile phone. Recently, when we're raising capital, we deploy a new platform for the NGX Invest that enable Nigerians to be able to participate in that. We've also looked at the various kind of products that we have. You understand? We've enhanced that. Today, as opposed to us having just one maybe dominant asset class, then we've had something to do with the fixed income. We've introduced exchange-traded products. We're planning to introduce derivatives. This will assist investors in managing their risk and enhancing their return. Today, you also notice that we've democratized, we've lowered assets to financial market or capital market. Today, for you to invest in the market, you need as little as 5,000 naira. The other day, I was talking to a director in Central Bank, and I said, in Nigeria, you know, you cannot even buy, with 500 naira, you cannot buy a meat pie, but you can have a share or a pie of a company as big as Dangote, because the share price of Dangote is going for less than 500 naira. So today, you can gain access to the market, and we're doing that. And I must tell you, we've also done a lot in terms of regulating and providing security investors protection. I mean, we're sorry for what happened with Cybex, you understand? Because if Nigerians had followed and invest their money in the financial market, even if anything is happening today, the regulator will have been able to come to their rescue. But we're saying, please come to the market. With 5,000, you can buy federal savings bond that will give you a 16 to 17% return, which is good. And if you reinvest those money, you will see that you will gain and create capital, as opposed to running for returns that are not sustainable. So I think for us, we've continued to do investors education, and we continue to mobilize or encourage our intermediaries. You see some investment companies, broker-dealer, organizing training for students, youth, and even creating virtual money for them to actively participate in the market. And I think some have also started getting them to appreciate the fact that, you know, you can actually trade with live money. A lot of things is also happening in terms of financial literacy and education. Today we've started working with Ministry of Education to include financial literacy as part of the secondary school curriculum. And for us too, we do that retail investors webinar on regular basis. We'll engage NYSC to introduce youth to investment. And we do that, you know, on constant basis. And because we're also primary provider of data, we provide this data so that people can consume them. They can start using that data to give intelligence to people and encourage them. So we think that if we continue to do this, because yes, the data is improving, but it can be better. And that is why you will see that that same index that went from 66 to 20 is now over 100,000. And we believe we'll continue to do more and attract more people into the market.
Thank you so much, Abimbola. That was very insightful. I particularly love what you said about democratizing assets. I think that's really important, because with little amount, you can actually take part, or participate rather, in the capital market. That's really impressive. Moving on to Mr. Johnson Chukwu. The question I would have for you is, what reforms or initiatives do you think the regulators can also put in place to enhance retail participation? I know he has mentioned a few. Are there others that come to mind that you'd like to speak about, please?
Well, the reforms are never unending in this nature, in the sense that a lot of reforms have been brought into place. Abimbola has spoken extensively on that. But among the other things we need to do is we need to continue to drive information sharing. We need to continue to drive use of digital technology as means for investment, as investment tools. Today we have fractional investment in the form of mutual funds. So we need to continue to promote mutual funds, because basically you're talking about retail investors. And we must also understand the attributes of retail investors we're talking of. We're talking about people who have minimal income. And if you look at the average household income, and you look at you realize that most households in the country are very poor. Some are in rural areas. So you have to talk of information dissemination. How do we make sure people, even in the rural areas, know they can actually invest with small amounts of money? So we need to encourage the savings culture. Beyond savings, what goes with savings is investment. So the ability to share that information to even the most far-flung areas is necessary. Then, like I said, you have to continue to promote fractional investment instruments, collective investment instruments that will allow people to invest small amounts of money into instruments that will allow them grow their wealth over time. The other things, like I mentioned, is the use of digital technology today as alternative channels for investment is very critical. Most houses today will give you an app that you can use to make your investments. So it's absolutely necessary. The other things that have to come into play is investor protection. And Bimbola has spoken about that. Because people want to make sure that when they put their money in an investment instrument, that nothing goes wrong. And if there's anything goes wrong, there must be some fallback position. There must be some form of indemnity. We need to continue to drive that. And then for those of us who are operators, we also need to be more ingenious in our product creation, such as we need to look at what are the needs of the average investor, the average retail investor. They look for security. They look for assurance that their money will not get, the value will not diminish. So you need to come up with instruments that are not just the hybrid instruments. So it gives them opportunity to optimize the return, while as it also moderate their risk. Because if you give them plain vanilla equity instruments, those instruments could today appreciate and the values could also decline. Retail investors don't want to hear anything that the value I put in 1,000 naira, you're telling me the value is now 800 naira. They don't want to hear that. So we must also be ingenious in our product creation to create products that have the hybrid attributes that would not allow so much of value diminution. And it could be, like if you have a mutual fund, you could have a mixed fund that will ensure that you don't have so much material diminution in value. And then we should begin to think of throwing in insurance covers for investors. That's why we're talking about product creation, the ingenuity in creating new products that take into cognizance the needs of average retail investors are important.
Thank you so much for that point. If I could just lead to my follow-up question, which I would still like you to answer, because you have talked about investor protection and also capital preservation to some degree and making, at least optimizing your returns. Now, in view of the rising inflationary pressures and currency volatility, what innovative savings or investment vehicles would you say young people should be looking at today for investment? Johnson, that's for you, please. Just a moment. Johnson, that's for you. It's a follow-up question.
Actually thought you were asking what other investment instruments?
I'm saying in view of the rising inflationary pressures and currency volatility, what sort of investment vehicles or saving vehicles or even instruments would you recommend that, of course, with due diligence, people can consider investing in just to ensure they have capital preservation and they are also optimizing return?
Well, you know, one of the things we do is that before you advise, because the advice I'm going to give you is a general advice so that you don't take it on its face value. Before we advise, we always profile them and look at what is their cash flow, what's their risk capital, what's their station in life in terms of their age. Can they still afford to take risk? What level of risk can they take? We look at other things. But if I have to make a general recommendation on what to invest in an environment where the currency is volatile, in an environment where there is a tendency for currency devaluation to continue, because when I was a young boy, when I started working, the exchange rate at best was 22 naira to a dollar. Today we're talking about 1,600 naira to a dollar. And until we become a productive economy, which is not in the immediate future, the naira will continue to come under pressure because our population is increasing. We are now projecting we're going to be maybe the fourth most populated country in the next 10 years. So if that continues and we do not enhance the value creation in terms of the value of what we produce, then our local currency will continue to come under pressure. So on that basis, one of the things we ask people to invest in are instruments that are foreign currency denominated. And because we are not talking about mutual funds that have in the basket of their portfolio foreign currency assets, so you don't really need to go and invest, look for hundreds of millions of naira to invest. With your 1,000 naira, 500 naira, 2,000 naira, you can invest in instruments that have underlying assets are foreign currency denominated instruments like Eurobond instruments. So I always tell people, look, for the surest way to guide against diminution in your net worth or in your asset is you need to have some of your instruments in foreign currency denominated instruments. But if you are investing in the short term, in the immediate short term, then you have to look at a federal government debt instruments. It could be in form of very short end of the market. You have the treasury bills, you have the commercial papers, But you have to be very discerning when you want to invest commercial, because today we have all sorts of commercial in the market, and I'm one of the opposite. Look, you need to be very careful in you need to make your proper assessment before you invest in any commercial paper. But at least you have a federal government debt instrument. Today, last Wednesday, the federal government 364-day treasury bills came at a discount rate of 19.59%, 19.56%. That gives you effectively more than 24%. So if you are investing for the short term, it is not likely that inflation rate will be higher than 24% within the next 12 months. So you can actually invest in that, and that you will not see any diminution in your value. But like I said, for us to give you specific, it has to be bespoke in nature. We have to give you advice based on your station in life, your income level, your cash flow. But on the balance, I could tell you, invest in mutual funds that have foreign currency assets in it. Today, most operators will have an app you can use to log in and look at investment and make your transfer and buy instruments, units of instruments. Secondly, you can actually buy treasury instruments in form of treasury bills. You may not buy directly because you may not have the money to buy. The minimum amount if you have to go to the primary market is $50 million, 50 million naira. So, but you can actually buy mutual funds that have underlying assets that are treasury instruments. The equity, if you have to play the equity market, for young people like you can actually take that risk. So what you need to do is that you look at which sectors are great, what sector do you want to invest in, which particular instrument do you want to invest in. You can take investment risk on growth opportunity areas. And even if it bumps out, you can have time to rebuild. But most times, if you take your discerning investment decisions appropriately, you may not lose money. But basic thing is that given a high inflation rate, given a stable exchange rate, the answer is invest in foreign currency denominated assets. Some of them most of them you can invest from here. 2, for the short end of the market, buy treasury bills, buy commercial papers. The yield is likely going to outpace the level of depreciation of local currency in the immediate future. But for long term, diversify your assets into other currencies.
Thank you so much for that. That was very insightful. Now we're moving on to the second segment. Please feel free to clap for him. That was a brilliant response. We're moving on to the second segment, which speaks to access to capital in today's markets. Now, in 2013, it was reported that African startups raised over $4.5 billion. Now, much of that activity, however, we saw in the fintech and the digital space. Today, traditional barriers have fallen, and we see a lot of activity in venture capital and angel investing space. And I'm glad that we have someone in that space on this panel to really speak to what makes an idea fundable. Because it's easy to just say, I have this great idea, it's the next big thing, I need funding. But the question is it fundable? So now moving to Finn. In your view, what makes an idea fundable? And there's follow-up question to that, once you're done responding to that, is to then say, what are investors looking at right now in terms of sectors?
Thank you, Kate. It's good to meet you here in person. Hi, everyone. So in 2011, it's important to say this, I was in this room doing my MBA as well, so this is really nostalgic. So please clap for yourself, fellow alumni here. To answer that question, again, with an alternative asset class lens, is we're always looking for founders first, the team, right? Is the way I sort of will approach this. If you have, for us to invest in an idea or in a business, we're thinking, who is the member of this team? How strong is their muscle? Do they have the proven track record? Do they, as a team, if they were co-founders, right, are they thinking together? What are their complementary skills together? If we were to move on from there, we're thinking, how big is this market? You probably already know this, right? How big is this market? If you're thinking about Nigeria with context, is this solution able to transcend different states? Are you able to move as fast? Some certain sectors may not be able to move as fast. And that's why we've probably seen a lot of buzz and talks about financial inclusion and fintech. We also think about the business model itself. Are you really solving a problem? Is it a pain point? Is it, as we always say, is it paracetamol or is it a vitamin? right? Is it really a problem? In this, just given the Africa context, Nigeria context, there are many basic infrastructural challenges that we need to solve for. And certainly some solutions will just not scale today because, not because they're not fantastic ideas, but because it's just wrong timing. Certain things need to be put in place before they scale. And of course, it doesn't mean that innovative ideas can't come out and they can't just be one-off, right? But the market, the business model itself, how solid is the team? The team, because we want to be able to see that there's muscle. And what that means is you know the pain points in this industry. You know how to approach it. You might not have worked in that industry before, or you have worked. Typically, we would like to see that you've worked there before. You have track record. You understand the problems. You know what the regulator is thinking about. You know how to approach your customer. All of those nice things that help. That help the investors to say, okay, this person is the person I want to give funding to. I think that this person and the team can go on into the market and scale and will solve the problem. Because again, in most sectors, there's a competitive landscape. You're not the only one. Investors want to back the right team. Am I backing the right team? Is this the team that will take me to unicorn status or whatever status this is? In terms of sectors, I would say all sectors in Nigeria, Africa, it's pretty much open. But today you still find a lot more work with financial inclusion because there's still work to be done there and because it's really scalable. And if you're thinking about VC as an asset class and as a VC investor investing, they're most likely looking for a big audacious venture, right? Audacious venture that is scalable, can be a unicorn. So you'll find there's still a lot of talk about financial inclusion. And today there's a lot more talk around fraud, compliance, looking for regulatory technology. There's a lot of talk around cross-border trade solutions. How do we move stuff easily from Nigeria to Kenya? It's still somewhat expensive compared to if you are taking it to Europe or Asia. You will find that we're looking at solutions that have to do with credit access. How do we give credit the right way? How do we collect it the right way? How do we predict that this person is the right candidate to give credit to? There are also sectors like energy. There's a lot of work being done with renewable energy. Solar, there's a lot of companies coming up with it. And then there's a lot of infrastructure work that needs to be done. I think another sector I want to speak to is the data. Internet is still a challenge in many parts of the country. You'll find that once you're outside of Lagos or maybe Abuja, the key commercial centers, it becomes more difficult to reach your friends, reach your family. And so that's a lot of, we still need investments there because if we don't have enough internet infrastructure, we can't scale some of your solutions. So yes, we're looking in that space. I mentioned cross-border. Yes, I think those are key sectors that we're looking, again, still borders on basic infrastructure. How do we get some of the basic fundamentals of any economy to the next level, and then brilliant, innovative ideas coming. I must also mention, because if not, my people wonder why. We also support the creative economy. And so today, a lot of work is being done. Of course, there's still a lot of talks as to how some of these businesses are really business cases. Are they business cases or are they still hobbies, right? But a lot of work is being done with investor readiness. A lot of work is being done with their growth strategy, with setting up partnerships, with training, capacity building, basically, to help scale, help position them to raise institutional capital. So yes, we're looking at creative businesses across film, music, sports, gaming, cultural, crafts, etc. So
is that sometimes people view those things as hobbies because it's a bit difficult to then link passion to perhaps bankability, to say, oh, can I put my money behind this, right? What are the guarantees in terms of return if I choose to fund this? So how would you advise founders in that space to enhance bankability?
Again, this is, you just asking me what we do day to day, right? So today what we do with our founders that come into for deliver 30 projects, right? So an investor is interested already, right? You're not just releasing just one Netflix blockbuster or one cinema box office blockbuster, right? They're starting to see that, oh, you're sustainable. Okay, you can deliver 30 projects. And they're also thinking, okay, what else can you do to ensure that cash flow still keeps coming in, right? Because again, is how the content will appeal to the audience. So you're thinking, what else do we produce for other people that have? Do we write? Do we do podcasts? Do we have a music arm in-house, right? Do we produce? Do we manage talents? What else do we do that expands the revenue stream for my production company? So typically, you find us advising them around those lines, telling them to see it as you scaling a sustainable business. It's no longer I'm releasing. I raised money from a bank to sponsor this movie. I took a loan. They gave me a 6 months moratorium, and then I need to pay back. It's now I'm thinking of making this big. I want to be a regional champion on the continent. I want to be able to attract this kind of capital, and I will deliver this certain number of projects over this number of years.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. My next question is to Johnson. Now, from where I sit in investment banking, it's not unusual to have a client come in to say, I see that firm A has raised 50 billion in bond, I want to do it too. Or I see that this has raised 100 billion commercial papers, I want to do the same. What advice do you give to founders to actually put structure in place to ensure that they have long-term credibility and are also ready for investors?
Well, I think what I will start by saying is that for anybody who wants to be in business, your credibility is the most important asset you must treasure. Once you lose your credibility, you lose your business. You lost yourself. So for anybody who wants to go into business and you're a founder and you're looking for funding, the first thing you have to ask yourself is that, do I have the project I want to invest in, does it have the capacity to pay back the funds? Even if you're going to raise equity, which does not have a maturity date, which does not have a payback date, you must ask yourself, the project I want to invest in, does it have the capacity to generate enough return that is commensurate with what investors who are investing in me would make if they are investors in something else? So those are two important questions you must ask. So you must start from what Stevie covers, you must start with the end in mind. So the first question you ask yourself is that you must do a basic assessment of the viability of what you want to put the money in. If it's going to be a debt instrument, like the bond you mentioned, commercial paper, you must ensure that it has a cash flow that will support the interest payment obligations and principal repayment. Because once you default once, you default for life, particularly in a country like ours. So those are the critical questions anybody must have to consider. So in considering that, you have to ask yourself, I want to raise this amount of money. It must be in tandem with the cash flow expectations of the asset you want to invest in or a project you want to do. So you don't just, because a lot of times we see people come to us and say, look, we want to raise money, and they are asking for short-term funding for a long-term asset or an asset that has a longer gestation period of maturity date. And once you have that mismatch, you are bound to fail. So you must make sure the cash flow stream expected from your investment matches the tenor of the instruments you want to borrow or you want to access. Those are simply known. They are irreducible minimum you must address. The other aspect you must ask yourself is that, do I have the capacity for the investment I want to make? It's not just enough that you have an idea. And I'm going to share with you an experience. Somebody came to me 2 days ago, and she said they wanted to raise about an amount of money, 3 billion naira. They have an idea. They want to latch on to one of the federal government projects, ideas. And the question was, they had a lender who was ready to lend them the 3 billion naira, but the lender is asking for collateral. And they need to go to a bank who will guarantee that lender. And the bank is saying, okay, but you need to give us something. We're not going to give a guarantee for nothing. And I said to them, you know, at a certain point, you have to look for a partner. One, your partnership should be somebody who is going to provide you what you lack. One of the things you don't lack experience in this line of business. You lack no experience in this, you lack experience in this line of business. So it's not just enough to say, look, I want to go into aviation, so because somebody is in aviation, you want to buy aircraft. No. You must get a partner that has the technical knowledge in that line of business, because these are things that will ensure you don't fail. 2, you need to get a funding partner, a financial partner. The financial partner, maybe they want to bring you equity contribution, maybe they want to bring you the guarantee an asset, to lend you an asset that we use as to meet your guarantee needs. So one of the key things I tell entrepreneurs is that, look, 1, you need to ask yourself, what's my SWOT? Do your SWOT analysis. Ask yourself, what are my areas of strength? What are my weaknesses? You need to look for complementarity on those areas where you have weaknesses. 2, you must be willing to cede part of your interest in the new enterprise to people who will provide those complementarities. What the concept that I want to do with it alone is a sure bet to fail. You must look for people who have those things and must be ready to cede them part of the ownership. And then you must, which is why your reputation is very important. In most instances, you are a startup. I always say, pitch to your F&F. You know, you have an idea, you want to do a business, and the idea looks good on paper, pitch to your F&F. F&F means family and friends. There must be people that know you so well that will say, look, Johnson, you can do it, I'll support you. So if you go around and nobody among your close family and friends believes in you, there's a problem with your capacity. It could be that you lack capacity, so you're just full of hot air. You talk about a lot of things you don't have the capacity to do it. So, and also believe that you must learn to start small. The concept of building a business model where you need funding, you must be scalable. So you must start from one step and then move to the next step and then to the next step. For entrepreneurs, the big bang approach is a sure bet for failure. Never bet your balance sheet on anything. So you need to build gradually, look for people who believe in you, and then make sure that your cash flow needs are sourced from sources that are in tandem with the cash flow expectation of a business.
Thank you so much for that. You raised very salient points. Please, a round of applause. Feel free to clap whenever you feel the need to. We have a brilliant selection of panelists. Thank you to Nesa, PAU for that. I must commend that. Now, moving on to the third segment very quickly, and this is speaking about careers and entrepreneurship in finance. So I will start off with Abimbola. Now, I know that right now, tech and media is almost like a buzzword, but finance has been here even longer. It's resilient and is even still evolving. Now, one major shift that we have seen is a change from traditional brick and mortar to now having digital-led platforms. So my question to you, where you sit at NGX, how would you say the Nigerian capital market is evolving to support innovation and also entrepreneurship, right? And are there solutions for young people to actually build something innovative around and within NGX?
Thank you very much. I think for us at NGX, we're a platform, we're a B2B. So what you see us do is build an infrastructure, try as much as possible come up with APIs, and also fixed protocol that people can consume. By doing that, you are building a platform for integration. So with that we also come up with standards in terms of, yes, these stockbroking people, the finance people, they need technology. We ourselves, we consume technology a lot. You could see that we started automation of the trading system. We used to be call over. We now start using the technology-based one. So we expose those APIs and standards. And today, we also encourage fintechs to come understand our platform, consume those APIs, and by so doing, create products that stockbroking people, stockbroking firm, people in the finance industry can use because they need to connect to us. We are the nucleus of the capital market. And I think we've seen a lot of improvement in that space. That is why today you see stockbroking firm, investment companies being able to come up with applications that people can use to gain access. Today, with some application, I can go to the trading floor, see the depth of the market, and take the decision myself. It is with the help of this. So a lot of things is going on. And because we are also a self-regulatory organization, we also encourage people to come up with what we call, people talk about fintech. We also have what we call RegTech, technology using application to develop applications, using technology to develop applications that can help people meeting and complying with their own compliance requirement. So a lot is happening in that space. We do invite them, meet with them, test some of the applications that they see that they are not introducing threat into our own system, because those things have to connect to our system. So by coming up with those standards, protocol, APIs that they can easily consume, it's helping a lot of people who are in the fintech to be able to integrate with the capital market and offer solution. Because today, in the capital market, we have what we call straight-through process. That is, from my app, I can initiate a trade. That trade touch base with the stockbroking arm for risk management, and from there, it goes to the trading engine, and the trading engine matches it. It goes to CSCS, and it goes to even the payment system, because today in CSCS, we also have what we call direct cash settlement, meaning if you sell trade in our market, you can actually be credited directly without it going to the stockbroking firm. So in totality, we support fintech, we support entrepreneurs. In terms of people who wants to go into business, we are a trading platform, we are also a listings platform, and a platform through which people can raise capital. And in the capital market, we support any form of capital, whether it is, if you look at the current ISA now, that is Investment Securities and Act, it covers everything from venture capitalists, private capital, public capital, which is the listings, whether you are raising commercial paper. You could see the government itself also leverage on that to raise capital. So if you are an entrepreneur, we also, depending on your level of business, we have what we call growth board. You can actually come. We're currently working with BOI, that is Bank of Industry, to get list of companies, put them into like a nursery, provide them with support in terms of capacity building, understanding governance, how to prepare their books in readiness for them to come to the growth board and raise capital. We're also very, very, intentional about supporting technology. So today we have a technology board, yes, wherein, irrespective of the stage you are in this technology business, you can actually be listed. Whether you are a startup, you are a growth company, or a unicorn, we have room for you to raise capital.
Thank you so much, Abimbola. I think we should give him a round of applause. The work that NGX is doing is impressive and should be commended. A quick one for Fee, right before we go into Q&A. So what have you seen in terms of the finance startups coming to VC firms looking for capital? What sector or what solution are they looking to provide? Just so it gives us a sense of perhaps the pivot that is happening in the finance space.
I'll say today, a lot of the work, a lot of the ideas and the business ventures are around cross-border trade. Cross-border trade, and then whether it's payment gateways to help with those trades, or is helping with regulation in different countries, or is an aggregator platform trying to match you with different traders. Everything is just speaking to how we get to export more Nigerian, or export more Kenya goods, or export more South African goods to the rest of the continent and to the world. So really all of the solutions are around that. I think another one will really be access to more capital. People always need money for different things, whether it's as an individual, for day-to-day, or as a business. So finding that business model that meets the need and is also able to collect the money at the right time, right, or in a good way, or sustainable way over years. Some of the solutions that are coming up today. There's a lot of AI solutions, a lot of AI induced or infused solutions rather. But yes, again, a lot of them come with more capital efficiency, a lot of help with costs, a lot of help with finding things easily. Yeah. So those are sort of the ideas we're seeing today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Finn. That's very helpful. I'm sure that the budding entrepreneurs here can relate and find that very useful. Just before we take closing remarks, we'd like to dedicate a few minutes for questions. So please, if you're in the audience and you have a question, or as I saw hand raised already, please Please let me see your hands so I know how many minutes to dedicate to this. I can see 4 hands right now. I think that's 5. Awesome. If you can please just come out and line up very quickly, that would be helpful. So please, in 20 seconds, state your question and who you're directing it to. Let's do that very quickly, please.
Okay,
and please introduce yourself first. I'd like to know you. Thank you.
All right, hi guys.
Hi.
Do I have to come? Okay. So, my name is. Okay. My name is Elvis. I'm a 400 level student of electrical and electronics engineering at Pan Atlantic University. So I'm so sorry. My question is actually long.
Try to summarize.
My question
just
is
because
long.
of time.
Yes.
Okay.
So I understand that they were trying to save time, but I feel like somehow we deviated from the focus. Okay. We are supposed to be trying to sell this idea of investment to the average Nigerian youth. So I'm really, really sorry, but I'm going to have to, for you to understand the question, I have to paint a scenario.
I appreciate that it might take a while, but help us wrap it up in a minute, please.
No problem.
There's a long queue behind you.
Yes.
So you can take everybody.
All right. So let's talk about an average boy. Let's call him Ayo, an average Nigerian youth. Ayo finished school, say, 5 years ago. Ayo did his NYSC. After a few years of staying at home, looking for a job, he found a job. The job pays Ayo 150K a month. But the location is far from home. I mean, he stays on the mainland, the job is on the island. He has to find an apartment close to work, right? So he has to rent an apartment. The apartment is too much. He has to partner with friends that have jobs on the island as well. So, right.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I really need you to wrap it up in 30 seconds. Please.
30 seconds.
Yeah, just get to the question so that we can. Is it a question or a comment?
It's a question.
Okay, just get to the question.
Okay, fine. So, let's look at Ayo for instance. He has 150K is not a lot of money to rent an apartment, to assist in the house, to pay bills, right? I mean, whenever he comes home, they bill him. He has to cover at least something in the house, say gas fees or something, or the electricity bill for 1 month. You get. Even Ayo's dad was forced out of retirement just to cover these fees, right? So how do you sell these investment opportunities to someone like Ayo, someone that is barely is just trying to live by, you get, to get by every day? How do you sell an investment opportunity that does not even beat the inflation rate to Ayo? That's my question.
Okay. Please, you can go ahead, please. In less than 30 seconds,
okay,
please.
Quickly, I'll just take it quickly. You know, when I was speaking, I said one of the things we would do is that I was going to give a plain vanilla recommendation that we profile people. The profiling we mean we look at your cash flow, we look at your cash expense, and we determine what is your reasonable level of discipline saving. When I use the word discipline saving, because saving itself must be driven by self-discipline. Then it could be that you are saving out of your 150,000 naira. If you are a very religious person and you're a Christian, your pastor would have been making you to give 10%. So you can actually save 5% of that, your 150,000, which gives you something like 7,500. But the key thing is that when you save, you have to look at what you're saving. We said to you, you can buy mutual funds. Some of the mutual funds we have fixed income funds that will give you yields that are commensurate with the treasury-based yield that is higher than inflation rate today. So the key thing is that you must have the discipline to save, and then your savings could actually be a small collective investment instrument. First, most important is discipline to save, no matter how small your income is. If you can't save at 150, you can't save at 1.5 million.
Thank you so much. I hope that suffices. In the event that it doesn't, after the event, I'm sure he will be very gracious to provide a lot more answers. And I understand that we can't take any more questions. So please, for those that want to have that questions, you can see any of us, after the session is over, to respond to you on that. So just to close in 2 minutes, I'll just go around the room very quickly and get, in one word, what would you advise that students here develop in terms of skill to help them excel in the finance industry? Abimbola, just one word, please.
Sorry, say that again. Yeah.
What skill should students here develop to help them excel in the finance industry? One word.
I think analytical skill.
Analytical skills. Are you guys taking notes? Thank you. Johnson?
Well, I think they must have a mindset of an inquisitive mind. You must always continue to seek for knowledge.
Okay.
The world today is driven by knowledge, and you must not at any point be complacent of acquiring additional knowledge.
Thank you so much, Johnson. Fee?
I'll go soft because it's really resilience. Because it always changes. We have to be adaptable. So resilience.
Thank you so much. Thank you to my panelists. It was a great time. Thank you to the audience for your attention. I truly appreciate it. Now, finance is not just a game of numbers. It's all about mindset, opportunity, and you trying to compound actions over time. So let's leave here knowing that we're going to redefine the Nigerian dream to be financially empowered. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause again for Mrs. Kate. You moderated our panel session so well. And without further ado, I'm going to invite our next speaker for the keynote speech, who is actually standing in for someone, Dr. Olusi. He is a seasoned Nigerian banker with extensive experience in the finance sector, and has served as the former CEO and managing director of Unity Bank PLC, where he played a key role in overseeing significant financial operations. Currently, he holds a position at the Bank of Industry, contributing to Nigeria's economic development through strategic financial initiatives. His career is marked by leadership and expertise in banking and finance. Please let's give a resounding applause to Alhaji Risaluddin Mohammed. Please keep the applause louder. We have kept him here for so long and he's so upset. Please keep clapping, please. Please, pardon me, Dr. Risaluddin Mohammed. A round of applause.
The Vice Chancellor of Pan Atlantic University, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with your kind permission, I stand on existing protocol. First, I am simply amazed that the MC start talking about my profile, because the speech I'm going to read is not mine. So my expectation is the profile of the owner of the speech should have been mentioned. That is to say that the MD of Bank of Industry, whom I am standing here representing. So whatever I am saying here, I'm saying it on his behalf. It is his own speech, and the responsibility, of course, if there is any mistake, is mine. But I doubt if there is going to be any mistake. It is always an honor personally and a rare privilege to stand before economic students especially for this noble association of Nigeria Economic Student Association, which by my own clearest memory is the first known association that I was a member as a young teen. So I will quickly go to read out the speech. The Nigerian dream, opportunities within a challenging economic landscape, reason us far beyond walls of this university. It speaks to a generation at the crossroads of the unprecedented global shift, one where traditional narratives of success are being rewritten and where the aspirations of young Nigerians are being tested and reimagined on a continental and global stage. The conversation is urgent because the Nigerian dream, long overshadowed by challenges of economic hardship, migration, and uncertainty, is evolving. It is no longer confined to the narrow hope of survival to escape. Instead, it is emerging as a bold vision of innovation, ownership, and impact that aligns within the realities of our dynamic, interconnected world. Consider this. Nigeria is home to the largest youth population in Africa. Over 60% of our population is under the age of 25. The demographic presents an extraordinary opportunity. Just recently, young Nigerian entrepreneurs launched a tech platform that now serves millions, bridging gaps in financial inclusion across Africa and beyond. Their story is a testament to what the new Nigerian dream embodies: creativity, resilience, and the audacity to transform challenges into engines of growth. As we gather here today at a Pan-African university, a beacon of academic excellence and international collaboration, I invite you to embrace your role not only as students, but also as architects of Nigerian future. The ideas we exchange and the visions that we designed together will help in redefining what the Nigerian dream means in this changing economic landscape. And I will pause a little bit here to urge you to think twice, to read through, especially Mr. B.J. Rewane's presentation about the transformation, what is happening to the world, and the underlying imperative for the youth to take up the gauntlet and work towards developing our own country. Everywhere countries are closing on, there is so much tariff, so much issues around immigration and so on. There is no alternative to the youth working hard to grow our own country ourselves and be proud of it at that. As we navigate this critical moment of history, it is important to recognize that economic landscape confronting Nigeria and indeed the world is not simply changing, it is transforming in profound and unprecedented ways. Globally, markets are experiencing significant volatility and uncertainty. Trade tensions, geopolitical shifts, technological revolutions, and unforeseen crises like pandemics have reshaped the way nations and economies operate. These forces disrupt traditional industries and compel countries to adapt or risk falling behind. For Nigeria, this global uncertainty carries both challenges and extraordinary possibilities. Our long-standing reliance on crude oil, a resource that once anchored our economy, is no longer a guarantee of stability or growth. Instead, it has become a constraint, limiting diversification and innovation. We cannot afford to depend on an uncertain commodity when the world is accelerating towards new economic paradigms. Yet, amid these shifts, Nigeria's greatest asset stands tall. Like I said, the youthful population. While some view this demographic as a challenge, pointing to high unemployment and gaps in infrastructure and so on, the reality is far more promising. The youth represent a demographic dividend. with the potential to drive innovation, productivity, and inclusive growth. If equipped with the right skills, the right opportunities, and support, by 2025, that is this year, Nigeria's population is expected to exceed 237 million, with nearly 70%, again 70% now, under the age of 30. This youth bolt is a powerful engine waiting to be ignited through education, entrepreneurship, and strategic investment in human capital. What does this mean for you as young economists, innovators, and leaders? It means the rules of the game are changing, and so must your mindset. We must shift our focus from mere survival or consumption to production, innovation, and transformation. Innovation is the catalyst that will provide Nigeria's youth for the future of work. It nurtures adaptability, creativity, and problem solving. The very skills essential in a world increasingly shaped by digital technologies, automation, and artificial intelligence. Through innovation, you will not just find jobs, you will create them, build industries, and define new economic pathways for our nation. In this rapidly evolving landscape, Nigeria has a unique opportunity to leapfrog traditional development stages and position itself as a leader in Africa and beyond. However, this will require collective commitment from policymakers, the private sector, academia, and most critically from you, the emerging generation of thinkers and doers. Having understood the profound shift shaping the economic environment, the question naturally arises, where do the real opportunities lie for Nigeria's youth within this changing landscape? Nigeria stands at a crossroad, equipped with unique resources and immense potential. Across multiple sectors, exciting avenues are opening, each offering a platform for young Nigerians to innovate, to lead, and create sustainable wealth. Some of the areas include digital economy and creative industries, agriculture and agro-processing, green energy and sustainability, education and human capital development, as well as regional integration, especially around the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, these emerging opportunities paint a promising picture, one filled with potential for economic growth, innovation, and inclusion. Yet, harnessing this opportunity demands more than policy and investment. It requires a fundamental shift on how we see our country and ourselves. It requires us to redefine the Nigerian dream. For many young Nigerians, the Nigerian dream has been a fragile hope, a dream clouded by uncertainty, disillusionment, and the painful urge to seek greener pastures abroad or elsewhere abroad. However, I stand before you today to challenge this narrative. The Nigerian dream is not lost. It is evolving, and it becomes on us to reimagine what is possible. To redefine the Nigerian dream is to make a move beyond survival and immigration. It means embracing a future where ownership, innovation, and impact take center stage. It is a dream where the youth are not just job seekers, but job creators, where prosperity is built at home with dignity and purpose. It means seeing Nigeria not as a place to endure, but as a land bursting with possibilities if we dare to dream differently, act boldly, and collaborate relentlessly. This is your charge, to transform frustration into fall, uncertainty into opportunity, and hope into tangible impact. Imagine a Nigeria where a young software developer in Lagos exports cutting-edge applications globally. A female agro-entrepreneur in Benue revolutionizes food production with smart technologies. An innovative social enterprise in Kano provides sustainable energy solutions to underserved communities. A new wave of economists like you and policymakers craft inclusive policies that unlock growth and equity for all. This redefined dream is rooted in your creativity, resilience, and determination. It recognizes the challenges you face, that is, issues like unemployment, infrastructure deficits, economic volatility. They are not walls, but hurdles to overcome with innovation and grit. And it demands that we as a nation do more than hope for change. We must be agents of that change. The Nigerian dream of tomorrow belongs to those who refuse to be spectators and choose instead to be architects. It is a collective dream, youth, government, private sector, and civil society, working together to build a future where opportunity is abundant, growth is inclusive, and prosperity is shared. So as we discuss the opportunities within this changing economic landscape, remember this: the Nigerian dream is yours to define, and the future is yours to create. For us here in Bank of Industry, the bank stands at the forefront of Nigeria's industrial and economic transformation, committed to empowering the next generation of innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Guided by our 2025-2027 strategy plan, Bank of Industry's focus has sharpened on key pillars designed to unlock Nigeria's vast potential, especially among youth, women, and other emerging sectors. At the heart of our strategy is the recognition that youth are not just beneficiaries, but catalysts for change. Bank of Industry is intensifying efforts to build youth capacity through targeted funding, skills development, and entrepreneurship, and other support programs. We are actively financing startups and SMEs led by young innovators, particularly in the digital economy, where technology, creativity, and innovation converge to create new pathways for growth. Gender inclusion remains a core priority. BOI has deepened its commitment to women entrepreneurs by expanding access to finance and business development services through initiatives like the Women Enterprise Finance Initiative. We understand that empowering women is essential for broad-based economic progress and sustainable development. Our digital transformation agenda underpins this collective effort as BOI embraces technology not only as a sector, but also as a force multiplier across all industries, from fintech and agri-tech to creative industries and manufacturing. We are supporting enterprises that harness digital tools and innovative business models to compete both locally and globally. Some of the key highlights of the initiatives that we are doing include, like I said, youth and skills development, gender-focused financing, digital economic support, climate and sustainability financing, sector-specific funding windows covering agro-processing, manufacturing, health, creative industries, infrastructure, and climate change, all designed to generate jobs, boost exports, support import substitution. The key underlying issue is supporting growth and development of Nigerian economy through inclusive growth, while the bank ensures its financial sustainability. But the key reason that of establishing the bank is to provide impact. The impact in terms of supporting growth, supporting jobs creation, and supporting saving jobs, because there is a way in which jobs can be saved by reviving small-scale businesses. Now, I'm getting closer to the end. Allow me to highlight some of the Bank of Industry strategic initiatives designed to help redefine the Nigerian economy and align it with the aspirations of a new Nigerian dream. The industrialization strategy of the federal government guides the execution of our developmental mandate as a bank. You know, Bank of Industry is 99% owned by federal government, precisely Ministry of Finance Incorporated and Central Bank of Nigeria. So the underlying guidance of our developmental strategy is anchored on specific industrial policy of the federal government of Nigeria at any point in time. So BOI supports projects with potential developmental and nation-building impact, and the capability to generate considerable multiplier effects, such as job creation, export promotion, import substitution, and industrialization. That is the mandate of the bank. Over the last 6 years, the bank has deepened its capital base by leveraging various fundraising, debt instruments, and strategic partnerships. We have successfully raised offshore over $6 billion over the last 6 years from the international capital market through Eurobonds, loan syndications, and green finance instruments. These funds have improved our capacity to continually support MSMEs and large enterprises with affordable long-term financing in a sustainable manner. You need to realize that Bank of Industry has to raise funds offshore, enter into a swap arrangement, for example, with the central bank, get Naira component of the dollar, and lend to Nigerians in Naira. So federal government do not give Bank of Industry money to lend to individuals. It's public sector owned, but private sector driven. As a bank, we had developed specific sector-specific windows covering agro-processing, infrastructure, food and beverages, health, creative and digital, climate financing and sustainability, among others, with focus across the bank's, what we describe our own 6 thematic areas, which is lending businesses around youth and skills, gender, SMEs, infrastructure, climate and sustainability, as well as digital economy. We have also launched a 3.7 billion Naira program called Rural Area Program on Investment for Development, which is aimed at supporting small businesses outside state capitals in rural areas at minimum interest rate with next to zero collateral arrangement. All aimed at supporting small businesses that even across the world, all businesses, we have big names, brand names, you have John Holt, you have Citibank, you have all these big names, you can think about JP Morgan, they started as small businesses, McDonald's and so on. So we are supporting those small businesses with expectation that they grow from small individual businesses, family business, to a micro business, to a medium-sized business, to a big business, then to large conglomerate. We have also recapitalized our subsidiaries, Leasing Company of Nigeria, to support infrastructure funding, to support climate finance funding, to support youth, and to support climate issues, gender-inclined businesses. We have also gotten the license for BOI Investment and Trust Company Limited, and the bank was nominated as the executing agency of for the implementation of several intervention programs that FGN initiate over the years, inclusive but not limited to existing 50 billion presidential conditional grant scheme, 75 billion MSME intervention fund, 75 billion manufacturing sector fund, and so on. We have also signed up a declaration as a bank of commitment to the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative Code. Our commitment goes beyond funding. BOI fosters knowledge sharing and policy dialogue through initiatives similar to this, like the Bank of Industry inaugural lecture series, which we started last year and will continue. It's going to be an annual event. We have also started publications of journals that will help in ensuring that we have a strong research base as a basis for any policy making by both public and private sector. We have launched the BOI Journal of Development Finance and the BOI Journal of Development Review. One is a technical journal, the other one is a non-technical. We also enhance market transparency with digital tools like the PriceSense NG platform, empowering MSMEs and consumers alike through information sharing. Together, these efforts position BOI as a catalyst for youth-led industrialization, innovation, and inclusive growth, building a Nigeria where the new dream is within the reach for all. In conclusion, I leave you with this. The first Prime Minister of Nigeria, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, was in his own time, that's in the 1960s, and his own generations, was critical for Nigeria. The current period is just as critical, especially for today's youth, who basically, based on the data we have given out, basically own the country. Like Irwani said, it's not about tomorrow. The youth own the country. The youth constitute significant, most important percentage of the nation. So the Nigerian dream was clear and stirring. A sovereign nation built on unity, dignity, and boundless promise. Young people of that generation dream of contributing to the birth of a new nation, one that will rise with African pride, chart its own economic path, and takes its rightful place on the global stage. For them, the dream was national. It was about collective identity, public service, and the urgent work of nation building. Today, the stakes are much more different. So must the dream be. I thank you very much for listening to me. And like I said earlier on, I may not have the leverage of airing my opinion because this is not my opinion. This is a speech I read on behalf of the MD of Bank of Industry, Dr. Olasupo Olisipi, who will have truly wanted to be here, but for exigencies of work because he's right now even out of the country. So our sincere apologies. And we thank you very much for the opportunity, and we look forward to more of this, and we'll also be very happy to continuously provide support to Nigerian Economic Student Association in this respect. We thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Ruslanuddin. A round of applause for him once again, please. Thank you. We had kept him here for an hour plus, and he was enraged, but I'm so happy that he eventually still stayed and kept to it. Thank you. So I know, I can feel the energy in this room. You guys are tired, right? You're tired. I know. It's very tiring sitting through long talks, long conversations. However, there is something for you to liven you up a bit, to rejuvenate, to give you some of that fire back. And our next performance, and our first performance, is by somebody who is more than just my classmate, right? She's a poet, she's a writer, she's a speaker, she's a storyteller, she's an actress. In fact, aside being a spoken word powerhouse, she's also a scholar. So please, let's give a warm welcome to give us spoken word performance, Moyosore Oluwa Adeni. Please, a round of applause for her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Kemnachi. Before I begin, How many of us here want to japa? Just signify with a wave of hands. I see a lot of hands. I expected that. Well, I was asked to come here and speak on the Nigerian dream, and I first thought to define that concept. Somehow, the first things that usually come to mind, good roads, jobs, etc., just weren't enough to encompass what we would call the Nigerian dream in one statement. Considering that currently the biggest dream of most of us in this country is to japa, I decided on something more succinct, simple yet encompassing. What is the Nigerian dream? Is it skyscrapers grazing the sun's beam, Tesla cars and convertibles in Ikoyi Highway, twisted bridges and aesthetic landings in MMA? Maybe it's high-rise buildings, Starbucks behind churches, or even holograms in Eagle Square. The Nigerian dream is much simpler, much more practical than a sci-fi utopia. For me, and for many of us in this room, we dream of a Nigeria where we can stay. I dream of a Nigeria I don't need to run from, where my education is something for me to be proud of, to smile for, where good grades give me an opportunity to get my dream job, work for community, pay my rent and have some to spare, where minimum wage is not just a wad of cash I can only sweep the floor with, spit on the ground as I walk to my nearest airport abroad, where I don't need to jump on ships to nowhere, trek deserts, die in caravans in Sahara through Libya just so I can cross an ocean anywhere, groping for greener pastures anywhere but here. I dream of a Nigeria I don't need to dread. I have a dying national esteem. My insecurities range from my short ears, big nose, inflation, corruption, and the possibility of dying on these state roads. What if my security in this country wasn't dependent on me, or how many bodyguards I can hire, or how many politicians I'm connected to, or how much my pockets can shake when I travel or when I visit the hospital to entertain the mafia of irresponsible office holders? I dream of a Nigeria where the job market is better, where I don't need to have 100 streams of income, a river, just to afford my hunger, where I don't need to apply for foreign remote jobs just so I can act like slave laborers, sitting on the computer, typing all day for a few dollars that translate to thousands of naira. What if I can earn in my own currency and be happy and stable and able to live a good life? Where food items aren't priced like eating is a privilege of the wealthy, or higher institutions like 2 vacations outside the country. What if the cost of living wasn't trying to kill me? How possible is it to live this simple Nigerian dream? I narrow down my research and make this inquiry. How can I achieve this fantasy? And in the multitude of pessimisms that characterize this country, I expected an error, but instead I got a prompt and it said, there are hills right beyond these valleys you dread. And if the zip line is broken, then you have to hike up and cross the frontiers yourself. And it sounds like cliche. How, when I'm not in the government, can I make big change? But change is a gradual process, and acceleration is made up of little successes, and it is a million drops that makes an ocean. And so if everyone in this room can take charge of their future, then a better Nigeria is in motion for everyone to come. And so I ask, what is the Nigerian dream? It is a combination of 200 million ambitions made successful by strong belief and the grit and grind of the Nigerian mind that makes the Nigerian dream. For me, and for many of us in this room, we dream of a Nigeria where we can stay. But what if we stay, suspend lamentations, set our flights for takeoff, and build the Nigeria that we can dream of? Thank you.
Please, let's give it up for her again. Moyo is so impressive. She's phenomenal. Every time. She wows me every time. So as you guys know, before an event like this comes into fruition, a lot of things happen. It's kind of like a bouquet. Like there's an oasis that holds the flowers, then there's a stem that holds the petals, things like that. So let's liken it to right now. There are sponsors for this event who have really done so much in making this come to life. And with that, I would like to introduce one of the biggest sponsors of this event, Stanbic IBTC. So please, give them a round of applause as they come on stage. They have slides for us, so please listen.
Hello everyone, good afternoon rather. My name is Monjola Adeboye. I'm a sustainability analyst for the Stanbic IBTC group. And today I'm going to speak to you about sustainability at Stanbic IBTC and also how sustainability is currently redefining the Nigerian economic landscape. So if I could have the next slide, please. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is what sustainability is. So often I think people have a false understanding of sustainability, which is that it's just environmental, which it's not. Sustainability can be defined as, can I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Thank you. Sustainability is a multi-layered concept which focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And when I talk about sustainability, the example that I like to use is water, because climate change is a water problem. So first up, the water that we use for our daily activities, cleaning, cooking, whatever you may think, is water that we get from the ground, which is called groundwater. And this is a resource that we're fast running out of because of the way humans are using it, because of how much water is being used currently. We are running out of it. So of course, we all know that the earth is covered in mainly 80% of water. And this would be in our seas, lakes, oceans, these sorts of things. But the problem with this is, for us to utilize this water, when we run out of groundwater, which we eventually will, for us to utilize the waters that we have in our seas, it will be very expensive and very energy intensive. And that's simply because this is salt water. So the process of desalinating that water, which is removing the salt content from the water, is very expensive, it's very energy intensive, which just means that at the end of the day, what we're going to get is very, very expensive water. So when you're thinking about sustainability, you just have to think about how are we using these resources that we have, how are we using the natural resources that we already have, and how are we going to use them without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So the concept of sustainability is composed of 3 pillars: social, environmental, and economic, with a view to achieving a balance between environmental protection, social equity, and economic viability. If I could have the next slide, please. So I'm just going to try to quickly talk to you about how sustainability is redefining the economic landscape. And sustainability is reshaping the Nigerian economic landscape, shifting focus from an economy that's heavily reliant on fossil fuels. When I say fossil fuels, I mean like petrol and fuel, oil, to one that increasingly values environmental protection, resource efficiency, and long-term socio-economic well-being. So first up, we have economic diversification and green growth, and this speaks to beyond oil, job creation, and investment opportunities. So if anyone follows sustainability news, you know that in economies all around the world, people are trying to move to renewable energy, move away from using fuel, using petrol, and instead switching to solar energy, hydro energy, CNG, which is compressed natural gas, and these sorts of cleaner energies. And this simply shows that the world is moving beyond oil. There are so many, when I say sustainability is redefining the economic landscape, there are so many opportunities that young people today can find themselves taking advantage of. There are jobs will be created when we're moving away from oil, moving away from using fuels and these sorts of things. There are so many jobs to be created in solar energy, in hydro energy, in sectors all around, sectors all across the board, truthfully. I often get the question that you work in a bank, why does a bank care about sustainability? And this is simply because society follows the flow of money. So if, for example, let's say, this is just an example, CBN is pushing banks to move away from giving money to oil and gas, to the oil and gas sector, is pushing banks to move away from lending money to oil and gas businesses, and instead is pushing us to do what we call sustainable financing, which is financing clean energy, hydro energy, solar energy, all sorts of things. So that just speaks to a bit about how the economic landscape is shifting. We don't only have to focus on things that may have been popular or may have created wealth in the past, because there's so much more that you may not even have thought of, you may not have heard of, that you can find yourself in. Sustainability, I say this a lot, sustainability is like the new tech. So next we have energy transition and renewable power, and this speaks to addressing access to energy and climate change mitigation. So we know that in Nigeria we have an energy problem, we have a power problem, which is that so many people in the country don't have access to power. This is another way that you can put yourself in the space. This is another way that you can make a difference. This is a redefining of the economic landscape. There are so many opportunities in solar energy and hydro energy. And I'll give an example. There are these things that are called solar home systems, which are very, very small solar panels that are being sold to the average Nigerian, and they can power, let's say, a TV, I think a few fans, your fridge, and these sorts of things. And they are not as expensive as you would think. So these are some ways that if sustainability is the future, if you are interested in creating something new, creating something that you can do something with, that can stand the test of time, sustainability is the way to go. And you can truly find it in so many sectors. It could be in finance, it could be fashion, music, whatever you may think of. Sustainability is needed across the board. So it also helps with climate change mitigation. Next, we have circular economy and waste management. And this is simply seeing waste as a resource and thinking about recycling. So I know we've all heard of recycling. Everyone has heard of it. But do we know why we recycle? So there are these things that are called greenhouse gases, GHGs. And these are basically gases that are really bad for the environment. And when we throw all our waste away, they go to landfills. So when you have all this waste that's decomposing, glass, paper, plastic, food materials, etc., when you have them all decomposing together, they create a greenhouse gas that is called methane. And methane, like I said, is a greenhouse gas. It's really bad for the environment, and it's also highly toxic and highly flammable. So it's really bad for the environment. And by the simple act of recycling, by separating your papers and your plastics and whatever you may have it, and simply separating them, you have this decomposing isn't happening. So that's why we recycle. So looking at the circular economy basically speaks to... Oh, okay, I will. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. So speaking about the circular economy, a circular economy simply means that this model that we have currently, where we make things and then once they break or any sort of thing happens, we dispose of them, we throw them away. When you talk about a circular economy, all you're talking about is you make something, something might happen to it, or it might run out its lifetime, and then you make it into something else. So something that we do at Stanbic IBTC, because we're a financial institution and we use a lot of paper, one of the things that we do with our paper is we recycle it. So we get it back as toilet paper, we get it back as towel rolls, all sorts of things. And that's just one of the many ways that we recycle. So again, looking at waste as a resource, utilizing recycling, looking at things around you and thinking, oh, how can I make something different, something new? I feel like sometimes as African youth, we might be a bit small-minded because there are so many things that we may not have had access to. I remember I personally, I started as a graduate trainee at Stanbic IBTC, and I had always just cared about the environment, but it never occurred to me that sustainability could be a career path, and it's a very, very viable one at that. So next, we have policy and regulatory frameworks, such as ESG integration and environmental legislation. So environmental legislation is actually really cool. Nigeria as a country is currently making all these rules and policies around the environment. For example, in 2021, Nigeria signed the Climate Change Bill, which basically says that within 2050 to 2070, we're going to try to be carbon neutral as a society. I wish I had time to explain more about, I wish I had time to explain more about carbon, but unfortunately I don't. So next, I'll just speak to our Stanbic IBTC sustainability strategy. So sustainability is a huge umbrella. There are so many things that fall under this. We have social, which speaks to things like CSI, which speaks to the people, because sustainability is also about people. It's making sure people are healthy, well cared for. They have access to education, they have access to wealth, access to finance, gender equality. All these things fall under sustainability. We have economic, which speaks to basically putting your money where your mouth is. What are you investing in? as an organization, we're very, very careful about what we're investing in because we bear a lot of risk as a financial institution just giving people money because you don't know what they're going to, you don't know what they're going to use that money for. You bear the risk that, let's say, one of the people that you've loaned money to, they're employing children or they're treating their employees wrongly. There are so many risks that we bear. So we have to be very, very careful about what we're putting our money in, which is what sustainable finance is about. We have environmental, which I've spoken about a bit. This speaks to things like tree planting, speaks to basically taking care of our Earth because we only have one planet. We also have governance under this, and this basically speaks to how your organization includes sustainability. So under this, we have climate change, ESG, we have our positive impact areas, we have what is called the SDGs, the Sustainable the Sustainable Development Goals, and we also have our CSI focus, which is health, education, and job creation and enterprise growth. Could I have the next slide, please? I don't think this is working. Okay, so lastly, I'll speak to the benefits of adopting sustainability. And there are so many benefits, or rather, let me speak to the challenges facing sustainability adoption. First is limited awareness. I truly wish I had more time to speak to you guys about sustainability because it's really, really cool. It's really interesting. But there isn't a lot of awareness around it. As Africans, we're actually inherently sustainable. We contribute less than 4% of total carbon emissions all over the world. It mostly comes from other continents. But unfortunately, there's just not as much awareness of sustainability as there should be. I keep saying sustainability is the future. On an individual basis as well, you should be learning about sustainability. Infrastructure deficiencies, financial constraints. I think there's the idea that sustainability is expensive, and it might be expensive in the moment, but it pays for itself. For example, in my house, we installed solar panels about 5 years ago now, and I get my power directly I have an inverter, and I get my power directly from the sun. So when everyone was complaining about band A, band B, I couldn't relate because my power was coming straight from the sun. So next, need for stronger enforcement of regulations. So while there are challenges facing sustainability adoption, don't get it twisted. The momentum towards sustainability is undeniable, and it's redefining how businesses operate, how infrastructure is built, and how communities interact with their environment. So lastly, I'll speak about the benefits of sustainability adoption. And some 4 benefits of this are, it's like I said, it saves cost and operational efficiency. It pays for itself. Risk mitigation, which I've already spoken about. Increased ability to access capital and attract foreign investors. So investors, I think one of the speakers spoke about it earlier. I think it was Finyo Ogunlesi, and she mentioned how investors are always looking for things that are going to stand the test of time. When you talk about sustainability, the word sustainability literally means to sustain something, to keep something. So when you're thinking sustainability, you're just thinking, how can I move in my best interest, in my business's best interest? What are the things that will keep us standing tall? And lastly, innovative talent and long-term viability. So thank you guys. That is my talk for you today. I'll pause. Thank you so much. I'll see if anyone has any questions. Okay, I'll take that as a no. And if I'm going to say anything and leave you guys with anything today, it would be that I really hope that you go on your own time to try to learn more about sustainability because it will benefit you in the long run. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stambik IBTC. For our next panel, this is the industrialization panel. And before that, can we have the speaker citation played, please, for people to see?
A decade of expertise in power and energy systems. He currently serves as a technical service support specialist at Cummins Incorporated, a Fortune 200 American multinational, where he provides strategic technical direction and support for over 80 engineers across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. His work spans large-scale diesel and natural gas projects with applications in marine, automotive, industrial, and power generation sectors. A firm believer in power of technical and vocational education and training, Edwy is an alumnus of the Institute for Industrial Technology. He also serves a board of trustees member for its alumni community. He is an associate member of the Energy Institute and actively contributes as a volunteer with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group's Energy and Education Policy Commissions. Outside of work, he enjoys reading, researching, and hosting family dinners. Adeko is a transformational leader with over 30 years of experience guiding corporates and non-profits through digital transformation, governance, and sustainability. He has driven impactful technology initiatives, product launches, and CSR projects at institutions like JP Morgan Chase and Nigerian Exchange Group. Currently Group Director of Special Projects at Flour Mills of Nigeria, Bola leads innovation to future-proof operations. He serves on the boards of Flour Mills Group, Iron Global Markets, and the Global Reporting Initiative, championing ESG values. An alumnus of Harvard Business School and INSEAD, and a lifetime fellow of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria, he is known for strategic leadership and team development. Outside work, Bola enjoys golfing, cycling, and mentoring future leaders.
Joshua Ohia is a dynamic leader and the youngest marketing manager of any automobile manufacturer in Africa, heading media and marketing at Nord Automobiles. With a background in psychology, BSc, MSc in the University of Ibadan, his deep understanding of human behavior shapes his innovative marketing strategies. A polymath, Joshua excels in music, sports, and creative media, proficient in photography, videography, and graphic design. His leadership was pivotal in the award-winning launch of the Nord A9 SUV, named Best Product Launch of 2024 at the Niger Awards. Known for his strategic insight, creative energy, and versatile skill sets, Joshua
Dr. Ahmad Bashir is the Deputy Manager and Team Lead of Industrial Engagement within the Research Group of the Strategy and Research Division at the Bank of Industry Limited. In this capacity, he spearheads initiatives aimed at strengthening industry research linkages to support evidence-based policy and program development. Prior to joining BOI, Dr. Bashir served as a Principal Program Officer at the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, and held academic positions at Bauchi State University, where he contributed to teaching and research in economics. He is a trained economist with a strong research background in income distribution, environmental economics, and development economics. His scholarly work has been published in several peer-reviewed national and international journals. Dr. Bashir holds a BSc in economics from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, an MSc in economics from the University of Southampton, United Kingdom, and a PhD in economics from University Putra, Malaysia. Jumoke Ayofamisa is an accomplished investment and finance professional with over 18 years of experience in credit risk management, deal origination, and project finance across multiple sectors of the Nigerian economy. In her current role as Senior Vice President Infrastructure Fund at Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited, the largest non-pension asset fund manager in Nigeria, she plays a key role in leading a team of associates and analysts to raise long-term capital from qualified institutional investors and provide long-term bespoke financing solutions to sponsors of infrastructure projects in Africa. She is passionate about employing principles of sustainable finance in closing the infrastructure deficit in Africa.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon. in that construct?
I think you were able to just like go into my mind and then flesh out what I was trying to say in the last part, in that if we're to build an Ajaokuta today, it would definitely be more efficient than what was built 50 years ago. And it would harness all the IP that we've gotten in the time since that was conceptualized. And I think it's just very important that as you're going out and building the Nigeria of tomorrow, you also think of how you can come back to solidify the foundation, even as you look to using resources that are available in the service industry. So,
sorry, apologies, just a different perspective. I think the fact that the services sector is growing is a reflection of how adaptable and resilient the average Nigerian is. So if you unpack that sector, you find out that it is mostly made up of things people are doing outside of the government. Because when you talk about the move to industrialization and you're trying to situate it to the people in this room, it's not within their control. So I finish my school, I want to do something, I want to create something for myself. It's hard for me to start pulling the strings of, oh, I want to build a massive industry, because where's the power? Where's the logistics for you to get your raw materials to the factory? And I think it's only a reflection of how the government, the system, has failed us as Nigerians, and we are all just solving for ourselves in a way to just get ahead. So us leapfrogging into service-based, well, it may not get us to where we want to be, but I think we shouldn't flog ourselves too much. I think it's just a story of our resilience and how, maybe it's not a good thing that we are resilient, because the government just keeps pushing us and we keep accepting all of that. But what I would say to the average person in the room is that beyond all of this, we need government, and we need to hold government accountable. We have been told that the youth are the future of today, or they own today, not the future. So what can you then do? Election time, votes, advocacy, where you can lend your voice. And when you do get a job in public sector, make sure that you remember the Nigerian dream and, do the right thing so that, things can work. The enabling environment to drive industrialization can actually happen. Thank you.
I think you'll agree with me that this panel is giving us, how do you say it? Let me look for the word. It's giving. So now, in rounding off, because I know we're short on time and I'm trying to redeem the time, but the days are, anyway. Many people didn't get that. So we've said that the youth is the future, and Mr. Rwani has corrected that notion, or has challenged the popular notion in saying that the youths own today. So I would ask, like a set of 5 questions, just in closing. Nigeria is one of the youngest populations in the world. This is certain. So my first question goes to Isabola. If you were a 20-year-old student in Nigeria today, and you're interested in building the future in the industrial sector, what exact steps would you take over the next 5 years, knowing what you know now? Director of special projects, so you're already used to, working in that space. What would you advise your 20-year-old self with the current knowledge that you have?
So I actually have aside from the young crop of people here, I have my son here in the room who's not 20 years old yet. And so for me, that reflection also is situated in terms of if I was giving him an advice. There's probably a long list of things that I would charge all of you to have, but just in the interest of time, for me, I think about 3 things. I've come to the understanding and conclusion that whatever sector any one of you chooses to go into, you cannot run away from being technology savvy. And when I say technology savvy, I'm not just using the buzzword of, everything gets thrown out now, AI, data, and they're still very all relevant. but it's for you to understand that at the bare minimum, what can those elements of technology do to help you create some sort of value in whatever sector you choose to, because you can't escape it. So I think that's number one. Number two, there has to be an element of strategic thinking in almost everything you do. So what is the strategic intent in me going into this particular value chain? So let me use the food sector, which I'm a bit familiar with. So you can either participate in the input point, so that's about what the raw materials, the parts. You can participate in the production, you can participate in the distribution, or the sales. So for you, matching what your passion is, what you believe your core competence is, what is the big picture for you? So it can't just be the tactical, I just want to make money today and all that, because you can do it for a day, but how do you sustain it going forward? So that's the second piece. So tying that to that first point about your skill set. The third one is around something that was mentioned earlier on to the panelists around rapid fire. What's that one word that you should use? And I'll take the word from, I think it was Johnson Chukwu, about the curiosity. So for some of us that are a bit older than 20 years old, our ability to be a bit more of a sponge, to go search and question the whys. I think as we get older, it gets sort of limited, whether you like it or not. But for you, you haven't reached that ceiling yet. So it's about challenging the status quo and looking for that multiple layers of the whys. And don't settle for the first set of answers that you get, but to deep digger. So I said it's about 7, 8 things that I could throw on the table, but I'll just keep it to those 3. And that within your own self-reflection, you now find that thing that, as a 20-year-old, creates your own personal journey in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, now, do we remember the 3 things you mentioned? What's the first one? Technology savvy. Second one? Be strategic. And the third? Be curious. So, yeah. My next question goes actually to you, Mr. Joshua. Now, you've led creative and technical campaigns in automotive marketing. From your lens, what technical or soft skills should Nigerian youth start building now to enter industries like manufacturing, agri-processing, or clean tech?
So, technical skills, right?
Technical and soft.
Or
soft.
Technical and soft. So, from the technical aspect, he said one already, the strategic thinking. And that comes from you asking questions. You have to ask questions every time, everywhere you are. Because the moment you become subservient and you don't ask questions, you cannot really create anything new. Now, I have, over the years, done a lot, right? I'm very curious. I've tried everything. I've produced music. I've shot pictures. I've, done all of that. And it's because I'm very inquisitive about stuff. And me being in the automotive industry was a dream I had when I was a kid, right? In fact, I started my university degree by studying industrial engineering before I switched to psychology, right? So by the time I had the opportunity to go into the automotive industry, it was a dream actualization for me, right? Now, in thinking, you have to decide that, there's a problem and I have to solve it. Now, apart from that, people should understand that it's not everybody that will be an entrepreneur, right? But one thing you also have to be as a human being, and this is more on the soft skill part, is be useful. Get skills that will make you relevant. People say this every time. It's an overflogged conversation. Get skills that make you relevant. My boss keeps saying something. He says it in Pidgin a lot. The only person with they use food and they use. Which is true. Because there are a lot of people that, they just want to live soft life, and this is more towards the Gen Z demographic. I'm still young, by the way. I'm in my 20s. So you know that I'm still technically part of you. But a lot of people just want to live soft life, right? and don't want to do much, don't want to lift, just. But at the end of the day, nothing good really comes easy, and you have to be very tenacious in everything you do, because at the end of the day, when you just want to do the little thing, you can't expect. There are a lot of people around the world that are doing times 10, putting in times 10 of the effort you are putting in right now. And you don't want to go out of this place and think you can compete favorably with those people with the kind of work you are putting in. So first off, be tenacious. Secondly, be useful to yourself by getting skills that would help you to, to contribute to the world, and then be curious. Try to know everything. Try to learn everything you can. Those are the things that I would give anybody that is in their 20s that can do right now to contribute better in the future.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we've noted the common thread between the two responses we've just got. So what's that common thread that they've both mentioned?
Technical skills.
Yeah, so you need to be extremely curious. So my final question for this session goes to Mr. Jumoke. Now, I'm not putting you on the spot. You offered. So my question is, what organizations, internships, or mentorship programs do you think students should target today to position themselves for a meaningful role in Nigeria's industrial future? So what sort of organizations, if you have specific names that are, not just regional but national, or even international, if you have anyone that comes to mind, organizations, mentorship programs, internships, and it doesn't need to be limited, again, to where we are seated right now. So in terms of building Nigeria's industrial future, what sort of things should students be looking forward to?
I think that's a difficult question. Because we've all just acknowledged that we are lagging behind from an industrialization perspective. So where are you going to get the skills from? And the funny thing is, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I took a trip to one of the free zones, right, in Ogun State. It's one of these foreign-based free zones, and there are quite a lot of them in the country. And we went about inspecting quite a number of factories, and it pained me to see that whilst these people were employing Nigerians, they were actually employing them for menial jobs. Like, okay, move this from here to there, take that one. They're not growing, So I left that place actually thinking to myself that we've got a problem in this country. With this whole, I'm sorry if I'm digressing, but just to lay the point a bit, with this whole tariff issues across the country, you find out that there are a number of Chinese companies actually setting up here to produce for exports just to beat that tariff. But the downside is that there's no skill transfer to us. So you find out, unlike what has happened in the oil and gas sector where people work there and they've actually developed, right? So I think, again, there's still this part of government in terms of labor laws to protect people when they do get the jobs in this place. But bringing it home for someone maybe studying engineering or whatever, how do you equip yourself? I think if there is anything that is great these days is that you have access to information. Just by researching, there's someone in this audience who actually made me come here. I'm always very inspired by her to see how someone in Lagos with access to information, you take advantage of international opportunities. So I don't know industrial companies aside, maybe the likes of Dangote, Boa, or whatever, and you can find them. But most importantly, leverage access to information in terms of, okay, where can you get an exchange program? Where can you, intern? Where can you learn certain skills? Maybe you want to start some kind of small-scale manufacturing, food processing. There's limited access to information that you can actually search out on your own and you'll be more pushed to follow through than if someone just says, oh, take and do, So I'll just encourage everyone to leverage access to information that allows you grow as a person, and hopefully be able to, as my co-panelists has said, be useful, and being able to add value to Nigeria as a whole. And I think most importantly, I'll continue to say, is holding our government accountable, because a lot of things are happening and it just appears like, there is no concerted effort to ensure that the Nigerian dream, doesn't die, at least at the youth level. So we must hold them accountable, but more importantly, leverage access to information for you to improve your outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. So I want to open it up also to the other two panelists. I don't know if Mr. Bola, same question she answered, if you have any contribution.
Mine's a quick one. So there's a task for you all to follow through on. And so for the first time, I'm going to put on my FMN hat, Flour Mills hat. There are two opportunities that we've created over the years to solve the issue of how do we create the local talent to not just come work for FMN only, but also perhaps to go service the industry that we operate in. So that deals with employment. We have internships, graduate trainee programs that, depending on what part of the business you want to get involved in, we have intakes every year, and we run them through a very detailed process to try and build the future leaders within the business, but also in the industry. The second one deals with the helping to build capacity for those that do not want to work for a company, which I still think is a very important element of building the country. And that has to do with this FMN innovation competition that we do every year. I think we had either the 4th or 5th edition this year. And the idea behind that is to create this opportunity for people that are doing their own fantastic, innovative things. So between the cash award that they get and also the technical support that we provide for them to make sure that the business, as it goes through this early stage maturation process, that they succeed, that's also something you should look into. The one for this year, we just concluded on it. But if you just Google, you understand what the rules are, the timing of it, to help, at least help achieve your dream. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry for using insider information, because I'm aware of some of these programs, and then I wanted to just let them know that there are opportunities everywhere, and that, as Ms. Jumoke mentioned, leveraging information that is publicly available really is going to be the key differentiator for you when you go out there. So similar to how it was done in the last panel, you've already given us your word, but I don't know if you want to give us another one. So in just one word, what would your advice be to, our audience here today? So maybe starting from Ms. Jumoke.
Not a word, but a sentence which I heard years ago and it stayed with me. 10 things that require zero talent. I encourage you to Google it. It would guide you even as you move ahead in life. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, this is to young people, right? There have been CEOs over the years, and people have asked, I've seen interviews where you ask CEOs, what is the one thing that cuts across in people that are successful? And it is self-belief, right? At the end of the day, in whatever you decide to do, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, because not everybody has that entrepreneurial spirit or bone. Some people are just good at working for other people. I have people like that at the company that we know cannot run their own businesses, but they are good in providing support, in making sure that other people's companies are running, right? There are people like that here. And there are also people that are going to be entrepreneurs. In everything you do, keep improving and believe in yourself. Believe that you can get to the highest level in that career, in that entrepreneurial role, in that industry of yours. And that self-belief will definitely take you places. Thank you very much.
Because I'm just tapped. I don't have any new ideas. I'm going to borrow from a piece of advice I gave at the Firesat chat I was invited to a few months ago, also at PAU. And it's around two words. It's the whole concept around self-awareness. And in the most simple form of it, the way I define it is understanding who you are as a person, because there's going to be all sorts of pressures around what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it. Take all that in, but know who you are, and then that should now inform your own personal journey. And your personal journey in life is not always about what you do for a living. It's about your brand, who you are as a person, that hopefully there's some consistency between when people ask you, how is Bola on a personal basis versus on the professional career, there's some consistency. So self-awareness will be the two words for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So before we leave, I'd just like to open up the floor for 4 minutes if we have any questions. So what I want to hear when you come out is just the question. So you can have us guess what the context is, but just give us maybe a self-containing question that can just give us what you want to ask. So do we have any takers? Interesting. Seems that we don't. Right? Everyone stop out. Thank you very much. So we'll take a group photo.
Please let's put our hands together for our panelists and our moderator. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, without further ado, please, could we have Afara Initiative on stage, please? Afara Initiative, round of applause for them.
Hi, I'm Ali Rahman, a 300 level law student at the University of Lagos.
Hello everyone, my name is Nielwa Joshua. I'm a final year medical student at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Oluwatomisin Kalejai Mati. I'm a 500 level law student at the University of Lagos. Honestly, I think that I didn't exactly know my weaknesses. I wasn't the most conscious, and I just found out that I thought I knew all there is to leadership because I've served in different capacities. But now I can see clearly why some things that I thought were good were actually very, very bad. How I reacted in certain situations, I could have done better.
We've had a lot of wonderful sessions at the Bridge program, and it's very hard to choose the best one. But I think some of the sessions that have impacted me are the sessions on emotional intelligence. I think it's a very, very important skill for every leader, because what makes the difference between great leaders and ordinary leaders is the ability to connect with people, to be able to understand your own emotions and to be able to understand other people's emotions and how it ties into achieving the goals of the team. I also enjoyed the session on entrepreneurial leadership. I think Africa is a continent with so much potential. However, we need to understand how to create prosperity and what the steps are in order to ensure that this creation of prosperity is a successful venture.
What we hear every day at the Bridge program is entrepreneurial leadership. And before coming here, my concept of being an entrepreneur was owning a business, and that wasn't something that I thought I wanted to do. So I didn't think I had any business being an entrepreneur. But being at the Bridge, you learn that being an entrepreneur is about looking at challenges and seeing opportunities to provide solutions. And it's a mindset that every leader needs to have. So we learned about our inner circle, right? The circle of influence, things you have control of. But then as a leader, you have to have the mindset that almost everything is within your circle of influence. So everywhere you see challenges, everywhere you see problems, you can't resign yourself to the fact that it's out of your control. How can you see an opportunity here to create a solution? And that's something that I can apply at my workplace, in school, in every single community that I am in. Wherever you see challenges, how can you find a way to prefer a solution to this problem.
I know that we are raising a very excellent team of leaders at the Bridge program, and so I think that this is a very fantastic model that we can all adopt as leaders, and I look forward to applying my experiences and many of the things I've learned here about communication, writing, and so many other things in my future endeavors.
I thought my emotional intelligence was like 10 over 10, but I recently found out that I could do better in self-regulation. I could do better with managing my outbursts. I could do better with allowing other people's emotions to affect me. So I think I'll say TBP has made me much more self-aware and has built my EQ and honestly my capacity as a leader.
Given the magnitude of the problem we're trying to solve, we definitely are not able to do it alone, and we're very grateful for the people that have come along the journey with us, either through monetary sponsorship or through contributing their time. We just want to say thank you. We also want to say that we're just scratching the surface, and we would love you to bring others along. We would love you to commit to helping us get to the finish line, more than just helping us through a season. So buying into the vision and getting us to the end goal. So we want to say thank you. We also want to say come along with us for this audacious goal.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. My name is Ezekiel Adebanjo, and I'm the program manager at the Afara Initiative. I think you guys have been seated for quite some time now. So can you put your hands together for yourselves, please? Yeah, I'm sure you should be somewhere else, maybe resting or doing your laundry, but we have a number of students here today. First off, I'd like to thank the Nigerian Economic Students Association, Nesa PAU, for the invitation. I hear that there are about 7 universities present here today, and I mean, it's quite sad I don't see my university, because I graduated from the University of Ibadan. I'm sure you guys would agree with me that that's the first and best university in Nigeria, right? Awesome, amazing. I think we have students from Lagos State University. Anyone here? Make some noise. Make some noise now, come on. Okay, awesome. All right, how about Lautech? We have Lautech students here. Okay, just a few people. Covenant University. Okay, I like that. The noise is better. How about McPherson University? Okay, interesting. All right. I hear there's the Redeemers University here as well. Okay. Augustine University. Okay, interesting. And then, of course, our host, the Pan-Atlantic University. Yeah, I mean, I expected you guys to be more, but it's all good. Just to speak a bit about what we do as an organization, for us, we're a non-profit, and the goal is that we're able to empower 1 million university students, setting them on the path towards economic independence and supporting you guys in their emergence as entrepreneurs, public leaders, and even business leaders at the end of the day. One of the things that we've seen spread across board is that Africa is the youngest continent in the world. And that means that about 60% of our population is quite under the age of 25, right? And that means that there's a lot of youth potential that we have on the continent. And if that potential is not tapped across, if we do not harness that potential, it means that we're going to be setting ourselves up for dire consequences. And for us at the organization, we try to, solve some of the critical issues that we have in Africa today. And one of that problem, or one of those critical issues, is the unemployment problem. Statistics have shown that about 600,000 university students graduate from our universities in Nigeria. And those 600,000 graduates compete for the same jobs in the market where we have about 9.5 million unemployed young people. So there's a lot of competition in the world, even in Africa, even in the job market. But for us as an organization, what we do is that we empower you to learn the skills, to build the network, and also to land the job of your dreams. How we do this is that we empower students with the mindsets, with the skill sets, and even the global networks to help you to thrive and kickstart your careers. I'll tell you a very funny story. In 2022, we had just 2 students in Bank of America who were, serving as summer interns. But right now, because of the interventions that we've run, we have about 12 students in Bank of America who are either, doing their internships or having full-time opportunities. So for the organization, we're here to support students to achieve their fullest potential, right? And 2 major interventions that we run. The first intervention is called the Bridge Program, which is mostly around leadership development, right? What we're trying to do is that we want to develop the next generation of leaders from Nigeria and in Africa. We want to empower you to your first leadership positions. And then on the second part is our professional capacity development program, where we offer career development and advancement programs to university students across your university life cycle. So right from your 100 level as freshman students, even up until your final years and as a recent graduate. We've had a lot of successful stories. I think right now we have about alumni spread across over 10 plus countries in the world, and they're currently working at different top organizations. This is an opportunity that we want to open up to you guys, students from across the 7 universities that we've mentioned. And I want to believe that, a lot of us are going to take advantage of this opportunity. But for this event, we're offering just one thing. We have our stand just below when you go downstairs. What we're doing for this event is that we want to support every single person here with career advisory services. So for some of you, you guys are applying for internships, you're applying to jobs, and you have your CVs, all right? What we're going to do for you in this event is that we're going to look through your CVs, and we're going to be sure that, you guys are putting your best foot forward with your portfolios, right? A lot of you or a lot of young people do not know how to create good CVs, right? So we're going to help you to revamp your CVs, help you with your applications, and we hope that with this intervention, we can help support you towards the internships and jobs of your dreams. So that's a bit about us at the organization, and I'm hoping that we have more students come across our stand. Let's engage with you, and then we can take you from where you are to where you want to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Afara. Okay, next talk will be from First Ally. So please, can First Ally make their way to the stage, please?
Thank you, Nesa, PAU. So my name is Stanley from First Ally, and First Ally is a SEC licensed asset management firm into investment banking and portfolio management. So we are here to talk to us about financial literacy because we believe the importance of financial literacy can never be overemphasized. Despite most of us are still undergraduates, we believe we need to start saving no matter your level. And like the speaker here, Mr. Johnson Chukwu mentioned, if you can't save from 150,000 naira, you can't save from 1.5. So that is why we felt it's better we come here to tell you about financial literacy. And we have several products across our investment app, which is My Investor by First Ally. First Ally is a SEC license management firm, and the product is registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So with that product, you can invest across asset class in the capital market. You can buy treasury bill from the app. With as low as 5,000, you can buy Nigerian treasury bills and earn your interest upfront. And also on that investment app, with as low as 100 naira, you can start saving. We believe as undergraduates, you start small because some of us, we wish we got this information before now. And that is the app, My Investor. Is powered by First Ally. And also on this mobile app, you get to learn more about financial literacy. You can set targets for yourself and achieve it via the app. you can buy treasury bill, you can invest in mutual funds, you invest in money market funds. And one thing we are doing across several universities is the Star Ambassador Program. We have campus ambassadors across different universities. We have campus ambassadors in University of Lagos. We have at Augustine University. We have some at University of Ibadan. And we are actually bringing that to PAU. And good thing is we also engage with the Nesa student. So as a Star Ambassador, part of what we offer is you get training and development. We get to train you more on the world of finance because most of us that are economic student association, some of us want to build a career in investment banking. You want to build a career in portfolio management. You want to work in finance. So through the Star Ambassador Program, we get to train you on the right skill set you should acquire for this career path. And also part of what we also do is we get to offer internship opportunities to our campus ambassadors. And we also offer stipends to them to support them for what they do. So basically, the idea about the Star Ambassador Program is we are building a community of people that are very interested in finance. And we believe this opportunity will help you guys that want to break into finance, and we are here to help you. So we have our stand outside. You see the stand, First Ally Asset Management. So you can come to us for your questions. We are here to help you. So we advise all of you, start your financial journey today. Wherever you are, you can start small and grow big. Thank you.
Thank you, First Ally. So the last panel sessions is about to begin, and actually we're combining two together so we can just move ahead with time. And one of the panelists is my fave. Like, I'm such a big fan of him. He was in PAU, I think last 3 weeks. So I just want to let you know that he's a very interesting speaker. He's somebody who you would want to listen to. I mean, he's a performer. It's basically his career. So to introduce the speakers and the panelists for the last two sessions, can the media guys please play the speaker citation, please? And let me tease you guys with this. Euphoria is here.
Stan Nze is an award-winning Nigerian actor celebrated for his versatility with over a decade of experience portraying diverse roles in Nollywood. He gained critical acclaim for his role as Ahana in Rattlesnake, winning Best Actor at the 2022 AMVCAs and the Septimius Awards in the Netherlands. His films have grossed over 500 million naira at the Nigerian box office. In 2024, he received further AMVCA nominations for Afamifuna, Netflix's most streamed Nigerian film, and Suspicion. Beyond acting, Stan is the founder of the Kids Can Act initiative, nurturing young talents now featured on global platforms like Sundance, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime. He is married to fellow actress Blessing Nze, and together they continue to inspire on and off the screen. Onu Adeze. Adeze Dexy Onu is a social entrepreneur, sustainable fashion advocate, and founder of Dexy Creation, a brand merging ethical craftsmanship with upcycling initiatives, skills training, and mentorship program 100 plus individuals annually. Her advocacy promotes ethical fashion, the sustainable careers in fashion globally. Her advocacy promotes ethical fashion, the circular economy, and leadership development, driving change toward